I have a system that helps me survive in a zombie apocalypse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 New Plan. They walked around the house, but didn't find anything. The key food and weapons were taken away by those people. They didn't want to touch the remaining miscellaneous items, and it was difficult to rule out whether there were poisons or traps on them. There was no need to take that risk. Zilan asked curiously, since they are about the same strength as Fatty, their number should be about the same, and they must have stored a lot of food and weapons. Can they take so much away at once? He shook his head. Don't forget that the masked man is a cunning guy who has 3 burrows, so there must not be a lot of food here, just to make it convenient for them to run away at any time. At this time, Wan Qiushu pointed to several large black pools behind the house and said, it seems that the masked man is still continuing his fish farming business, but why not change to other animals? Obviously, the big fish before didn't listen to his orders, and their loyalty was almost zero. He smiled. Even if the big fish becomes a zombie, it still cannot leave water, so for the masked man, this is a point that can be controlled. Needless to say, cats are almost impossible to be loyal to humans. As for dogs, if they are raised from childhood, it is possible. However, when a dog becomes a zombie, it is not certain whether it will devour its owner. Just like the stray dogs we met before, if they get bigger and bigger, then it really looks down on people. In its eyes, humans are just a pile of food, and there is no way to control them at all. Wan Qiushu nodded. No wonder he would raise fish in such a thankless task. It's true when you think about it. No matter how high the level of the fish is, as long as it's not raining, it still can't leave the constraints of this pool. Even the food can only be delivered by the masked man. From this point of view, it seems that they can only listen to the masked man obediently. Zilan frowned. Do you think he will still turn humans into zombies and then feed the big fish? He thought about it. It's unlikely. After all, Brother Ziopeo is now cooperating with the base. Even if there are survivors, it is more cost effective to exchange materials directly with the base. Besides, the big fish is controlled by the masked man. If I were Brother Ziopeo, I would not sit and watch the big fish upgrade. In that case, it will threaten Brother Ziopeo's own status. Wan Qiushu asked, do you mean that they may fight each other? He smiled. It's just a possibility, but I heard from Fatty that there is another force behind Brother Ziopeo, so this is a reason why the masked man followed Brother Ziopeo. But no matter what it is, everything will be clear when we meet. Then, the 3 of them walked back. However, before leaving, he poured gasoline as usual. At least it can prove that we have been here. Zilan went forward to light the fire. I hope it will be their nest that is burned next time. On the way back, Wan Qiushu looked at the depressed Zilan and said, don't worry, we will meet each other sooner or later, and then you can take revenge. Zilan nodded. Wan Qiushu looked at him again. What should we do next? Continue to kill zombies to level up, and then see if we can run into Brother Ziopeo and the others? He glanced at the surveillance in the juicer. Killing zombies now can only earn experience. The number of zombies killed is enough. Only level 4 zombies can be killed to level up. The growth rate of those cockroaches is faster than I thought. It has only been a day, and they have begun to grow legs. It will probably be fully grown in a few days. When the time comes, we will go to overturn their nests and level up. By the way, Wan Qiushu worriedly said, there must be a lot of cockroaches in the cockroach nest, and it's not a confined space. With the speed of level 4 cockroaches, let alone whether we can beat them, it is a problem whether we can catch up with them. He responded, doesn't the fat guy have a bunch of Molotov cocktails and mines? When the time comes, tie up those cockroaches and bring them back to the nest. It should be enough for them to eat apart. As for the level 4 cockroaches, I will see if I can upgrade the insecticide. Otherwise, it will be really difficult to deal with. If you don't dare to do it, then let me control your body. Wan Qiushu smiled and said, then I'll leave it to you. If it's just 1 or 2 cockroaches, it's okay. but thinking about a nest full of cockroaches makes my scalp numb. He nodded. Wan Kyushu continued, level 4, when you reach level 4, you can upgrade your equipment. Then maybe we won't need to protect you anymore. Inexplicably, I feel like my child has finally grown up. He was very upset. It's obviously something worth being happy about. Why can't I be happy at all after listening to you? But when you reach level 4, in addition to upgrading your equipment, there are many other things you can do. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Wan Kyushu blushed and spit at him. You bastard. He said innocently, I mean you can learn more about the secrets of the zombie virus and buy new products. What are you thinking about? Wan Kyushu's face suddenly turned redder. Zilan, who was standing by, couldn't stand watching the two show off their affection and interrupted. What if what you said doesn't work? The IQ of a level 4 cockroach should be higher, and it probably won't be so easily fooled. He thought for a while, if it doesn't fall for it, then we can only consider killing it by force. After all, we still have guns. If the hard kill fails, then we can change the target. With your stealth ability, it shouldn't be a problem to escape with Kyushu. At that time, I will stay far away, and the cockroach shouldn't find me. Zilan nodded. That's the only way. He continued, if you want to blame it, you can only blame it for being unlucky. Otherwise, I still want to kill the tank type zombies. After all, those zombies are stupid and much easier to kill. In the next few days, they began to clean up the zombies in a slightly farther place. After all, the zombies nearby had been killed. However, this way, the efficiency is much lower, and with the time it takes to go back and forth, not many zombies can be killed in a day. He did try to wear the title, but unfortunately, not a single level 3 zombie appeared. It seems that all the level 3 zombies in this area have been killed. However, he did not dare to move forward. After all, the situation ahead was unknown. If he attracted more than a dozen level 3 zombies at once, it would be troublesome for him. Especially now that the juicer could not be used at all. Before, with the help of the juicer, dealing with 5 at a time was already the limit. What's more, the next focus is to upgrade to level 4, and these level 3 zombies cannot disrupt the plan. When Wan Kyushu and the others reach level 4, the level 3 zombies can be killed one by one, and there is no need to be as troublesome as now. Chapter 252. Someone scouts the location. It is worth mentioning that, after they came back from Brother Zaopeo, one day Zilan said that she saw a car passing by outside. After listening to Zilan's description, he affirmed, it seems that Brother Zaopeo and his men came to our door. Wan Kyushu asked curiously, how can you be so sure? He analyzed. Zilan said that the other party drove an ordinary small car, not the big car of the base, so it must not be someone sent by the base. And if it was other survivors, they would not be unaware that we killed Fatty, so even if the base asked them to come to gather intelligence, they would have to consider the consequences. Only Brother Zaopeo and his men have such strength to challenge us. Besides, we burned down their nests, and it would be impossible for them not to retaliate. Zilan frowned, but we didn't leave any traces along the way. Moreover, they took so long to find us, how can they be sure that it was us? He went on to say, did you notice that Zilan said there was a zombie sitting in the car? That means one of them has transformed. And if I'm not mistaken, that person should have a keen sense of smell. When we go and come back, we will definitely leave a smell in the air. So, they followed our smell all the way here. And we have been living here, and the smell is strong, so this place has been exposed. Zilan suddenly became anxious. Then we have to leave quickly and go to a safe place. No, we have to stay here and wait for them to come. But before that, we have to send Zilan away first. Wan Kyushu grabbed Zilan's hand. Calm down first, don't worry. He thought for a moment, if the other party really has a keen sense of smell, then it will be useless, no matter where we send Zilan. On the contrary, if she is not with us, she will be more likely to be in danger. As for being exposed here, isn't that better? We live on the 8th floor. Unless they have a cannon, they will definitely not be able to deal with us easily, and we can just sit back and wait for them to come. However, they certainly dare not come in broad daylight. The most likely possibility is a sneak attack at night. Wang Qiuyushu asked, since we know that they will attack at night, should we keep watch or make some mechanisms? He shook his head. We don't know how to make mechanisms, and Molotov cocktails are too powerful. I don't care about their life or death, but I don't want to damage the building. After all, we still have to live here. As for keeping watch, it's too hard, and staying up all night is not a good thing. At that time, I can just put an alarm downstairs. It just so happens that the bell has never been used. Qiuyuzilan thought for a while and said, this is a good idea. Otherwise, we will be so tired that we have to lie down when we stand guard every day and they haven't come yet. He went on to say, in fact, they probably won't come in the short term, at least recently. Wang Qiuyushu asked curiously, why? He guessed, remember my analysis just now? These people are very likely to be brothers Iopeo and the others. And their strength is actually similar to that of Fatty, so if they come rashly, they will only end up like Fatty. However, the masked man holds the trump card of big fish. Although I don't know how many big fish he has raised, and what level they are, big fish cannot live without water after all. Wang Qiuyushu looked at the sky and said, I understand. As long as it doesn't rain, they won't go out easily. And once it rains, it's time for them to act. He nodded and said, that's right. Qiuyuzilan asked, but how do we know when it will rain? There is no weather forecast now. He looked at the sky and said, it's been a while since the last rain. It will probably rain soon. Then, that will be the day they die. Qiuyuzilan suddenly said, what if you guessed wrong? That group of people is not brothers Iopeo and the others. What should we do then? He was stunned for a moment. You two are both level 3 zombies, and the 3 of you have protective gear. Even if we can't beat them, can't we run away? Besides, I still have physical strength medicine and healing medicine. Don't worry. If they haven't come to trouble us in the past few days, they will be dead when we reach level 4. Wang Qiuyushu patted his shoulder. That's right. Then the vigilance is left to you. We are all girls. We can't stay up late. Otherwise our skin will get worse. Qiuyuzilan nodded in agreement. He sighed. The bell is directly connected to my brain. If it is triggered, it will ring directly in my head, so there should be no problem. Qiuyuzilan breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'm relieved. And in the following few days, it did not rain, and those people did not attack, as if they had never appeared. A week had passed since the fat man was killed, and he had been paying attention to the situation of the cockroaches in the juicer. However, perhaps because they had become zombies, these cockroaches only took about a week to grow their legs, which was much faster than normal cockroaches. So, during the day, they went directly to the juicer to prepare for the battle at night. Wang Qiuyushu looked at the uncovered juicer. Will there be any goo in it? And a level 3 cockroach will be produced. He took a look at the scan. It's okay. There is no level 3 in it, but most of them have been upgraded to level 2. The previous level 1 and ordinary ones have basically been eaten. Maybe this is why they can recover so quickly. Wang Qiuyushu nodded, then opened the lid. The next second, the lid of the juicer slowly opened, and the cockroaches inside suddenly felt the sunlight and ran around wildly. However, they were still tied with chains, so they could not escape. However, some of them wanted to run out. At this time, Wang Qiuyushu and Qiuyuzilan both exuded the breath of level 3 zombies and suppressed these zombies. Then, the two of them dragged the chains and pulled the cockroaches out. After the cockroaches came out, they seemed more restless, but they were suppressed and could not move, so they looked extremely painful. He took out the knife of life and death and walked forward. Don't worry, wait until I finish the operation on you, and then I will let you stay in the dark. After saying that, he used a knife to cut a hole in the cockroach's abdomen, and then stuffed a Molotov cocktail into it. In order to prevent it from falling out, he sewed the wound with a needle. After all the cockroaches were stuffed with Molotov cocktails or mines, they put the cockroaches back into the juicer. Next, they just had to wait until nightfall. Chapter 253 Release the cockroaches. At night, he and Zillion stayed at home. Originally, he wanted to follow them, but as soon as he walked out of the door, he felt the curse of the cockroaches, so he quickly retreated. Wang Qiuyushu and the other person rode their bicycles in the dark and came to the juicer. Then, the lid of the juicer was opened again, and the cockroaches inside began to rush out. However, they seemed to have received some kind of instructions, and did not run directly to the nest, but stayed where they were. Wang Qiushu and the other person had transformed early in the morning. First, it was to be able to track these cockroaches so as not to be thrown off by them. Secondly, they did not want to be the target of the cockroaches' attack, so they could only fight back. After all, the purpose this time was to destroy their nest. If they just wanted to kill them, they could just start the juicer. Looking at the cockroaches, Wang Qiushu couldn't help asking, what should we do now? He thought for a moment, maybe they haven't found the direction yet, or maybe they are suspicious, so they are not moving for a while. In this case, let's put some pressure on them. Try killing 2 cockroaches, and see how they react. Wang Qiushu nodded, and he and Qiushu killed a cockroach each. The cockroaches were in a commotion, but they neither came forward to share the corpse nor ran away, and remained where they were. He snorted coldly, it seems that the stimulation given to them is not enough, so let them taste my special insecticide. By the way, stand up, wind and spray a little. This stuff is very toxic. If all these cockroaches are knocked over, it will be over. Wang Qiushu nodded and walked to the upwind. Just at this time, a gust of wind blew, so she gently pressed the insecticide in her hand. A mist floated out from the mouth of the insecticide bottle, drifting with the wind, and went towards the cockroaches. The cockroaches that reacted quickly ran away directly. Some of the slower ones fell flat on their faces after running 2 steps, until it was too late to run. Some of them turned over and lay on their backs. Their 6 legs shook for 2 seconds before they stopped moving. Wang Qiushu said embarrassedly, it seems that the amount is a bit large, but this thing is really useful. He replied, of course, this is an insecticide that I upgraded with 1000 experience points. It can be used to deal with level 4 insect zombies. If it is not powerful, wouldn't it be a waste of my experience? Qiushu looked at the cockroaches running around and was thinking about which one to chase. Wang Qiushu began to move the dead cockroaches into the juicer. Don't worry, I'll turn on the scan and wait for them to run for a while. Now it seems that, although they look panicked, they are not actually running to the nest. It seems that they are still vigilant. This sentence was naturally repeated by him. Qiushu nodded and helped to move the cockroaches. After moving them, the juicer started directly. Wang Qiushu looked at the scan, then pointed to the north. They all ran in that direction. It seems that's their lair. Let's chase them. Qiushu nodded. At this time, Wang Qiushu handed the hammer of the earth to Qiushu, then hugged Qiushu's waist and climbed on the roof with his other hand. The sky is safer at night. There are too many zombies and other nocturnal creatures on the ground, and it's faster to move this way, and it won't make a loud noise to attract the attention of the cockroaches. Qiushu's face flushed slightly. Are you controlling your body now, or is he controlling it? Wang Qiushu was stunned for a moment. Don't worry, it's still me now. Qiushu nodded. The next second, the two took off directly and shuttled between the rooms. At the same time, Wang Qiushu laughed in his mind. Look at how bad your image is. Zilan is afraid of running into a pervert like you. He cleared his throat. Isn't this normal? She is just avoiding suspicion reasonably. Otherwise, what would it mean if I hugged her with your body? Wouldn't you be jealous? If I was controlling your body just now, I would have switched back. Wang Qiushu snorted. You are smart. He quietly wiped the cold sweat from his head. Fortunately, he passed the test. At this time, Wang Qiushu suddenly stopped on a roof. Qiushu looked at her strangely. Wang Qiushu made a gesture to keep quiet, and then pointed down. Qiushu nodded, and then quietly poked her head out. I saw that all the cockroaches that had escaped just now gathered together, but they had stopped at this time, and did not move forward. Moreover, they supported themselves on all fours, raised their two front legs, and faced the front with their upper bodies, as if they were facing a great enemy. And in front of them, there was indeed a great enemy. It was a very large spider, walking with 8 long legs, with yellow-grey hair on its body and a white horizontal band on its forehead. It seemed to be considering which cockroach in front of it was more delicious, so it didn't attack. If it was just begin size, it would be fine. The most important thing is that the scanner showed that it was a level 4 spider. No wonder these cockroaches dared not move. Wang Qiushu wondered, why did this spider run out directly? Doesn't it make a web? As long as you make a web, lie down and wait for food to come. How easy it is. He explained. This spider is called the white-fronted stilt spider. It is also a nocturnal animal, but it is not poisonous and can't make a web. Its main food is cockroaches. You can usually see it at home. Generally, the palm-sized spider is it. It is easy to recognize and is also a beneficial insect. But this one has no black V-shaped markings on its back and no eggs on its abdomen, so it should be a female spider that has not laid eggs yet. Wang Qiushu nodded. That means these cockroaches wanted to go back, but were blocked by the spider at the door. Should we help? Otherwise, the plan can't continue. He shook his head. No, let's not talk about whether we can beat this thing or not. You know, it feeds on cockroaches, so it's much faster than cockroaches. Secondly, since it's here, we can just sit back and watch the fight. If it and the cockroaches fight to the death, it will be even better. We can then harvest to level 4 experiences at the same time. Wang Qiushu frowned. But, these cockroaches below are no match for the spider. They are suppressed now, and dare not even move. I'm afraid that the spider will eat them and leave directly. Then there is no point in sitting back and watching the fight. As soon as he finished speaking, the cockroaches all spread their wings and flew up. They jumped up, shuttled through the corridors, and flew directly over the head of the white-fronted stilt spider. A large group of cockroaches flew up in the dark night. Although they did not make any sound, the scene was still quite spectacular. Chapter 254 White-fronted stilt spider. Qiushu quickly retracted her head. Although she had faced so many cockroaches before, and even fought with them, she always felt that the fighting power of the flying cockroaches and the non-flying cockroaches was one level lower. She almost suffocated when she thought of such a big cockroach flying towards her. And those cockroaches flew higher and higher, and some even climbed directly onto the outer wall of the house next door, and then jumped. The spider's upper body stood up, with its fangs and 2 front legs spread out, pretending to hunt, and its 4 hind legs supported the upper body. Then, it jumped up suddenly. At this time, a cockroach happened to fly over its head, and it was directly hugged by it, and then its fangs were inserted into the cockroach's body. The cockroach struggled hard, but it was originally in a preyed position, and it was at a disadvantage in terms of level, so no matter how hard it struggled, it was useless. When the white-fronted spider fell to the ground, the cockroach was left with only a layer of skin, and the body inside was sucked dry. It shook the cockroach's remains, and then looked at the other cockroaches. It looked like it was going to kill a lot tonight. Wang Qiushu blinked her eyes. From the time point of view, only 1 second had passed. It took 1 second to kill a level 2 zombie, which was comparable to the speed at which they triggered the characteristics of their weapons. However, she felt strange. Are these cockroaches not suppressed by the spider? In this case, they can still escape. Moreover, this spider is too powerful. It can suck the cockroaches dry in 1 second. He guessed, maybe these cockroaches have been persecuted by this spider for a long time, so over time, they have become immune to its breath suppression. As for the spider, it feeds on cockroaches. With its high level and mutation, it is not surprising to do this. Moreover, in this way, there is no need to worry about the annihilation of the cockroaches. The two communicated in their minds, and Qiushu hid beside her with a confused look on her face. The oppression of the spider was too strong, and she did not dare to stick her head out, so as not to attract the attention of the other party. As the white-fronted tall-legged spider continued to attack, the cockroaches were constantly decreasing. In order to avoid the attack of the white-fronted tall-legged spider, the remaining cockroaches also climbed higher and flew higher. Soon, the two of them even saw cockroaches flying over their heads. Before the two of them could be surprised, they saw a huge 8-legged black shadow jump out from the side, hug the cockroach, and then fall from the air. Wang Qiushu looked at Qiushu with a trembling voice. I always feel that it seemed to look at me just now. Qiushu nodded repeatedly and said in a trembling voice, I have the same feeling. Wang Qiushu hugged Qiushu directly, stretched his arms into the distance, and the next second the two flew over directly. As soon as the two left, The white-fronted stilt spider climbed up to the roof along the outer wall of the house. After scanning the circle and not finding the two people, it hunted the cockroaches again. And, as the cockroaches ran away, the white-fronted stilt spider also followed them all the way. Wan Kyushu, who was hiding in the shadows, patted his chest carefully. I was scared to death. Fortunately, you have the invisibility and stealth, otherwise, the two of us would probably become its targets. Zilan nodded in agreement. Level 4 spiders are so terrifying, and their speed is too outrageous. Not to mention beating these cockroaches, I guess even the level 4 speed zombies can't beat them. Wan Kyushu then repeated what he had just said to Zilan. Zilan looked at the white-fronted tall-legged spider that was gradually walking away and asked, then should we chase it now? Wan Kyushu nodded. Well, it looks like this spider has been hungry for a long time, so it keeps eating. I think if there are level 4 cockroaches in the cockroach nest, they will definitely not let it slaughter its own kind. When they fight each other, that's when we will take action. Then, the two of them went in the direction of the spider. He listened to what Wan Kyushu said, thinking, logically speaking, it is indeed a very common thing for high-level zombies to hunt low-level zombies. However, he seemed to have never seen such a large-scale hunting and eating of zombies. If it is simply explained by the hatred between the two sides, it is definitely not convincing. If a high-level zombie wants to upgrade, the best way is to hunt opponents of the same level. And the white-headed stilt spider obviously accepted everyone who came, and even hunted down the cockroaches, which was a bit intriguing. However, before seeing the result, he did not dare to draw a conclusion directly, so he decided to wait and see the situation. On the other side, the cockroaches ran forward, while running for their lives. Until they came to a gap, they drilled in without thinking. The gap was not big, but it was very wide, so the flat bodies of these cockroaches could barely squeeze in. Judging from the situation, the gap should be connected to the sewer, which is a nest of cockroaches. The white-headed stilt spider seemed to be very familiar with the gap, and rushed there directly, blocking all the cockroaches that did not have time to drill into the gap. Next, there was another one-sided massacre. Occasionally, some of those cockroaches fought back, but they couldn't cause any harm. Some wanted to escape, but they couldn't outrun the other party. So, in the end, there were only cockroach residues on the ground and a huge white-fronted stilt spider. However, after killing those cockroaches, the white-fronted stilt spider did not leave, but squatted next to the gap, apparently waiting for something to happen. Wan Kyushu and the others followed slowly behind. She took a look at the scanner and her scalp went numb. The scanner showed that cockroaches of various levels were scattered all over the underground passages. And deep underground, there should be a large space opened up by the cockroaches, and there were countless cockroaches in it. All you can see are the numbers representing the levels, and the most conspicuous one is undoubtedly the 4. Even in her mind, her voice was trembling. Are you sure the insecticide is effective? If so many cockroaches run out, it would be like disturbing a hornet's nest. I dare not imagine that scene. He hesitated. It should be okay. I didn't think there would be so many. At this time, Zilan asked softly, what should we do next? Wan Kyushu took out a grenade from his body. Since those cockroaches are unwilling to come out, let's help them. Then, the grenade was thrown out, and fell in through the gap. Chapter 255 Level 4 Cockroach. The white-fronted spider guarding outside saw something passing by and subconsciously stretched out its foot to touch it, but failed to catch the grenade. The grenade fell directly into the gap, and one could even hear the clang sound of hitting the pipe. Zilan glanced down and reminded, you seem to have forgotten to pull the fuse just now. Wan Kyushu shook her head, no. Then he snapped his fingers. Zilan looked at her strangely. Wan Kyushu explained, actually, it's okay not to snap your fingers, the main thing is to add a sense of ritual. The grenade was upgraded, and completely controlled by him remotely, and it could explode whenever he wanted. The next second, the grenade that fell exploded with a boom, expanding the originally small gap a lot. Then, the explosion detonated the methane in the sewer, causing a secondary explosion. Until finally, the explosion spread to the cockroach nest, forming a third explosion. This third explosion was mainly caused by the cockroaches that ran back. Many Molotov cocktails and grenades were sewn into their bodies. Of course, the most important thing is the insecticide inside. From the scanner, more than half of the cockroaches died instantly, and the red spots were visibly decreasing. Wang Qiuyushu showed a smile on her face. I didn't expect there would be an unexpected surprise. I forgot that methane gas could also cause an explosion. I originally just wanted to use a grenade to blow up the gap so that the white-fronted stilt spider could kill into the cockroach nest. As a result, it exploded 3 times in a row. This is enough to make those cockroaches drink a pot. Unfortunately, the level 4 cockroach is not dead yet. It is really lucky to escape the double attack of the explosion and insecticide. Qiuyushu looked at her strangely. You seem to be a little different. Wang Qiuyushu blinked. Oh, now I'm controlling her body. Qiuyushu nodded. No wonder. At the same time as the grenade exploded, the white-fronted stilt spider also saw the hole that was blown open and was about to drill in. Suddenly, a burst of flames rose from the hole, bringing with it a strong heat wave, directly knocking the white-fronted stilt spider to the ground, and even a lot of the fine hair on its body was singed. However, this sudden attack obviously did not cause much damage to the white-fronted stilt spider, because it quickly climbed up from the ground and put on an attacking posture. Qiuyushu was surprised, but heard a rustling sound, and hurriedly looked at Wang Qiuyushu. Wang Qiuyushu made a gesture of silence, and then pointed to the hole. Qiuyushu looked out, and saw dense cockroaches drilling out of the hole, one by one, scrambling for the first place, as if afraid of falling behind. That scene is probably enough to make people with trypophobia and those who are afraid of cockroaches stop their hearts and lungs on the spot. It is really too exciting. However, after many of those cockroaches crawled out, their bodies were shaky, as if they could not stand steadily. Some even fell to the ground, right after they crawled out, apparently dead. The last one to come out was the level 4 cockroach. Although the gap had been blown up and became much larger, it still couldn't get through easily. Its fat butt was stuck in the hole, and its 2 legs that had been stretched out kicked around on the ground, struggling to crawl out. The cockroaches that had come out earlier hurried to help. Some helped to expand the hole, and some bit the body of the level 4 cockroach to drag it out. They looked like they were working together, and it almost made people forget that they were a group of cockroaches. Looking at the level 4 cockroach stuck in the hole, and comparing it with the narrow gap before, it seems that it doesn't usually go out, so it's really not easy for it to reach level 4. It's unknown whether it usually eats those cockroaches or the food brought back by the cockroaches. The white-fronted stilt spider obviously understood the principle of striking first, so the moment it saw the level 4 cockroach stuck, it directly rushed over there with its 8 long legs. Such a good opportunity cannot be missed. If you can take action before the opponent comes out, you can not only save a lot of energy, but also directly decide the outcome. The level 4 cockroach obviously saw it. The 2 long antennae on its head were swinging wildly, and its 2 legs were struggling hard to pull its body out. When the white-fronted stilt spider rushed towards the level 4 cockroach, most of the cockroaches turned around and then fluttered and spread their wings. Then, they took off one by one on the spot, flying forward like gliders, and crashed into the white-fronted stilt spider fearlessly, delaying the opponent's steps. The white-fronted stilt spider didn't want to pay attention to these minions, but there were too many of them, which could be described as overwhelming. Although the crash into its body did not cause much damage, it was just a little painful at most, but it greatly slowed down its speed. Sometimes, there were even too many cockroaches that would knock it back a little. It was so angry that it picked up a cockroach and stabbed its fangs into its body, sucking it dry in one go. Then its body was thrown out and hit the flying cockroaches. However, this trick of killing the chicken to scare the monkeys did not work at all. The cockroaches continued to hit the white-fronted stilt spider. Even after they landed, they would attack again. This was completely using their lives to buy time for the level 4 cockroach. The level 4 cockroach was squeezing out little by little with its own efforts and the help of other cockroaches. Qiuyushu pointed at the stuck level 4 cockroach and asked in a low voice, "Should we do it? This is the best opportunity. As long as we kill it, we can upgrade to level 4. By then, we will be able to fight against the white-fronted stilt spider." Wang Qiushu shook his head. Level 4 is not so easy to kill. What if it has a copper skin and iron bones? Then we will be trapped. Not only will we not be able to upgrade, but we will also be exposed. I'm afraid that we will be besieged by those cockroaches, just like the white-fronted stilt spider. Even if we succeed, we have to go back and fight the white-fronted stilt spider, which is so troublesome. Wait until they are both injured, and then we can reap the benefits. The most important thing is that there are so many cockroaches here, we can't kill them all by ourselves. Aren't you afraid of being cursed by the cockroaches? Qiuzlan shook her head. No, the curse of the cockroach I killed last time was finally hung on you. Anyway, you already have one, and it doesn't matter if there are too many lice and a few more. Wang Qiushu was stunned, and after a while he said, that makes sense. Wang Qiushu, who was watching in his mind, saw his reaction, and laughed out loud. Chapter 256 Climbing out of the sewer. Of course, after Wang Qiushu's analysis, they didn't take any rash actions in the end, but watched from the sidelines, waiting for further developments. At this time, the white-fronted stilt spider was constantly knocked back by the low-level cockroaches, and was very annoyed, so the aura on its body burst out instantly, sweeping the whole place. Those cockroaches that were flapping their wings and preparing to take off were directly pressed to the ground. And some that had already flown into the air also lost their balance in an instant and fell to the ground. Even the two people who were watching on the roof were not spared. They felt that there were two mountains on their shoulders, pressing them down, and even breathing became difficult. Seeing this, the white-fronted stilt spider quickly crawled towards the level 4 cockroaches. However, when passing those lying cockroaches, it still did not forget to eat. It left a lot of cockroach corpses along the way. The level 4 cockroaches would naturally not sit and wait for death, and the aura on their bodies also burst out, competing with the white-fronted stilt spider. As soon as the two auras cancelled out, the cockroaches climbed up again, and rushed towards the white-fronted spider again. The two people on the roof were in even more pain. Because the level 4 cockroaches did not want to affect other cockroaches, they carried the aura of the white-fronted spider all the way up, and the auras of the two were entangled above. The two different auras collided with each other like two huge waves covering the sky, and the result was a vortex-like thing formed above. The air was also swept to the center, and even the vortex formed by the airflow was almost visible to the naked eye. The cockroaches that flew up were the first to notice this, so they quickly turned to fly low. Some who did not have time to fly down were swept up to the sky, rolled into the vortex, and finally torn into pieces and scattered everywhere. If Wang Qiushu and the others had not been holding onto the roof tightly, they would have been swept over long ago. She glanced at the vortex that was gradually getting bigger. No, I won't be able to hold on sooner or later if I continue like this. Qiuzlan nodded, but didn't say anything. Instead she used all her strength to fight against the force that was pulling her. Wang Qiushu bit the handle of the hammer directly, then used an instant burst, and at the same time, stretched out her arm, and placed it on the house in the distance. Then, she stretched out her other hand to Qiuzlan. Qiuzlan understood, and held Wang Qiushu's hand tightly with one hand, while the other hand was still holding the roof. Wang Qiushu whispered, when I count to 3, you let go. 1, 2, 3. Qiuzlan let go directly, and the whole person was pulled backwards in an instant. At the same time, Wang Qiushu used an instant burst again, and retracted his arm. After a strong pull, the two finally broke away from their original place, and landed on the roof in the distance. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief at this time, and their breathing became much smoother. Qiuzlan looked back at the original place. It's a pity that we can't see their situation now. Wang Qiushu nodded. However, at least it is certain that the white-fronted stilt spider has not succeeded, because the level 4 cockroach shown on the scanner is not dead. Moreover, if they fight, they will no longer emit breath. At that time, we can sneak back quietly. Qiuzlan nodded. The two of them waited directly on the spot. After all, that place was already the center of the battle. Level 4 zombies are so terrifying, they don't want to be accidentally injured, just like the shredded cockroach just now. While the two were waiting, the number of cockroaches shown on the scanner was constantly decreasing. But there was an effect. At least it delayed the white-fronted stilt spider, and did not let it succeed. After a while, there was a boom and the two standing on the roof felt the house shake. Yuzelin asked, "Is this an earthquake?" Wan Qiushu shook her head. "It's almost impossible for an earthquake to happen here, and it didn't look like an earthquake just now." The two looked at each other, and then looked back at the original place at the same time. Then, the two of them crawled all the way from the roof. At the same time, they were also prepared to retreat directly if something was wrong. Nothing happened along the way until they returned to the original roof and looked down. Wan Qiushu exclaimed, "It's so fat." The stuck level 4 cockroach had crawled out, and the vibration just now was caused by it. However, its condition was not very good at this time. It might have inhaled some pesticides in the sewer just now, so its body was swaying as if it was drunk. And when it exploded, it was not without injury, but it was not killed. One of its legs was broken, and there was a big hole in its buttocks. Black liquid was flowing out of the wound. In addition, it was dragging something like a bean pod at its tail. Yuzelin pointed at the bean pod and asked, "What is that?" Wan Qiushu sighed. "That is the cockroach's egg case. After cockroaches mate, they will produce this thing, usually 10 to 50 at a time. And each egg case can hatch 10 to 90 cockroaches. As for the specific number and hatching time, it depends on the type of cockroach." Yuzelin took a breath. According to this, cockroaches can produce up to 4,500 offspring at a time. Wan Qiushu nodded. "So, there are so many cockroaches below. And for the female cockroaches, these can be replenished at any time, so even if so many died just now, it won't feel bad." Wan Qiushu in his mind said, "Don't say it, I'm about to get goosebumps." At this time, the level 4 cockroach raised a leg and pointed at the white-fronted stilt spider that was eating, as if giving orders. The remaining cockroaches spread their wings and flew towards the white-fronted stilt spider at the same time. When they were about to reach it, they simply retracted their wings and crashed into it head-on. Then, they would stretch out their 6 legs to hug the white-fronted stilt spider, holding it tightly and not letting go. At the beginning, the white-fronted stilt spider could still handle it. All the cockroaches that pounced on it became its food, one by one. It was like drinking milk tea, just inserting its fangs, sucking the cockroaches dry in one go, and then throwing the corpses on the ground. However, as more and more cockroaches pounced on it, it gradually couldn't handle it, and even the speed of killing was not as fast as the speed of flying over. As time went on, more and more cockroaches hung on the white-fronted stilt spider. It was almost covered, and its body was densely packed with cockroaches. However, even at this time, it still didn't stop eating, and was still sucking the flesh and blood of the cockroaches with its fangs, as if it would never be full. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257 Attack of the Fat Cockroach. Yuzelin frowned. Why doesn't this spider resist? Has it given up struggling, or does it simply not take those cockroaches seriously? Wan Qiushu shook her head. There's something wrong with this white-fronted stilt spider. It has been eating since we saw it. Even if it has been hungry for a long time and needs to replenish a lot of energy, it wouldn't be like this. What's more, it is facing a strong enemy now, but it is still focused on eating. It seems that eating is very important to it. Yuzelin thought for a while after hearing this. Could it be that it is a foodie? Or maybe it has been hungry for too long, so it has a full meal first, so that it can have the strength to fight. Wan Qiushu looked at her speechlessly. You two sisters should stay away from Wan Qiushu. Your IQ is almost on the same level as hers. Even if you don't care, you have to understand me. It's tiring to take care of 3 Wan Qiushu at the same time. Yuzelin looked at her expressionlessly. The Dragon Slayer spear in her hand was ready to move. Wan Qiushu in her mind was almost furious. You'll be dead when I come out. Just wait for me. Wan Qiushu said quickly. It's just to liven up the atmosphere. Don't be angry, both of you. Actually, it's like this. We all know that pregnant women need to supplement nutrition to help the development of the fetus. Similarly, animals will have similar behaviors, whether before or after pregnancy. They need to eat a lot to replenish energy as much as possible. New Zealand's attention was indeed diverted, looking at the white-fronted stilt spider below that had been wrapped into a ball by the cockroaches. You mean, it may be about to lay eggs, so it's eating like crazy. Or, it has already laid eggs, so it's replenishing energy by eating now. Wan Qiushu nodded. That's right. As for which one it is, it's hard to say. However, it doesn't affect us much. At least no other level 4 zombies appeared in the scanner range. In other words, the male cockroach and the male spider are not here. They may have become food, or they have run away to other places. New Zealand thought for a moment. If it has already laid eggs, will it curse you with a spider or something? At that time, you will have both spider and cockroach curses on you, which can balance each other. Let them fight each other, and the winner has the right to kill you. Wan Qiushu's mouth twitched. You are really a genius. While the two were chatting, the white-browed stilt spider was still eating, which could be seen from the cockroach corpses that fell from it from time to time. On the other side, the level 4 fat cockroach was also eating, but its food was also cockroaches. I saw those cockroaches lined up in front of the level 4 cockroaches. Even when they saw the dead cockroaches in front of them, they still didn't show any fear, as if they were possessed. Level 4 cockroaches can't suck blood and flesh directly like spiders, so they open their jaws and bite the cockroaches in front of them directly. Although it is so huge, it eats very fast. As it eats, the wound stops flowing black liquid. Then, the wound is slowly healing. In the end, it was completely intact, and even its broken legs grew back. New Zealand swallowed her saliva. This ability is too terrible. There are so many cockroaches here that are its food. Doesn't it mean that, unless all the cockroaches are killed at once, there is no way to kill it? Wan Qiushu nodded. In theory, it is like this, but let's wait and see. Anyway, its current opponent is the white-fronted stilt spider. What's more, we have insecticides. I don't believe that the poison can't kill it. At this time, after the level 4 cockroach ate the cockroach in its mouth, it directly propped its 6 legs on the ground. The remaining cockroaches that escaped the disaster made way and stood on both sides of the level 4 cockroaches, like a guard. Then, the level 4 cockroach quickly rushed towards the white-fronted stilt spider. Although it is huge, it runs not slow at all, but it makes a lot of noise. Its legs stepped on the ground and made a tap 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 sound, just like someone typing on the keyboard. In addition, it caused the house to vibrate, which was particularly obvious to the two people on the roof. If someone who didn't know the situation came here, they would definitely think it was an earthquake. Wan Qiushu in her mind wondered, why do these animal zombies like to grow in size? It's so inconvenient for them to move with such a big body. Wan Qiushu explained directly, animals are judged by their size. The bigger they are, the more powerful they are. Some animals even inflate themselves to make themselves bigger in order to scare predators, such as pufferfish. So it's normal for them to evolve in this direction. New Zealand turned her head and looked at her. Wan Qiushu said, she just asked me why animal zombies like to grow bigger. New Zealand nodded, but there are exceptions, like the big fish before, whose original body is so small. Wan Qiushu continued, that is its special need. Becoming smaller can confuse the enemy and make the enemy think it is dead. However, if you really encounter that kind of small animal zombie, you have to be careful. New Zealand asked curiously, why? Aren't small ones easier to deal with? Wan Qiushu shook his head. As the saying goes, concentration is the essence. If an animal type zombie maintains its original size, or is even smaller than before, it means that their abilities are used in other aspects. Perhaps faster speed, or iron skin and bones. Coupled with their sharp claws and fangs, the lethality can only be described as terrifying. Although it is said that humans are the masters of all things, that is only because humans have higher IQs and can use tools. In terms of physical strength alone, they are definitely not as good as those animals, let alone mutated animals. New Zealand nodded in agreement and looked down again. As the level 4 cockroaches rushed closer and closer, the cockroaches that were originally hanging on the white-fronted stilt spider suddenly seemed to have received some instructions, and they all crawled to the side, exposing a part of their middle. The white-fronted stilt spider was still eating, but suddenly found that its eyes lit up, and then it saw the fat cockroaches rushing at high speed. The incident happened suddenly, and the white-fronted stilt spider had no time to dodge or defend, and was hit hard by the level 4 cockroaches. With a bang, the white-fronted stilt spider flew backwards, but due to its own weight and the weight of the cockroaches hanging on it, it fell to the ground and rolled before it flew far. The cockroaches hanging on the body were crushed into a pile of sauce. However, even so, the cockroaches still did not let go, and were still tightly hanging on the white-fronted stilt spider. Chapter 258 Kicking Hair. However, the fat cockroach's collision did not cause much damage to the white-fronted spider. At least there was no obvious wound on the surface. It quickly climbed up again, but its body was still full of cockroaches. It shook all over, and its 8 legs scratched at its body, trying to get those cockroaches off. However, those cockroaches were not stupid either. In addition to holding the white-fronted spider tightly, they also crawled on it to avoid the opponent's sweeping kick. Qiuzilin looked at the scene of those cockroaches crawling on the white-fronted spider, and her scalp was numb. Wan Qiushu in her mind shouted, "Don't watch it, I can't stand it anymore. By the way, insecticide, use insecticide quickly, kill those cockroaches first." Wan Qiushu had to turn his head when he heard it, but he didn't use insecticide. This thing is a big killer. How can it be used to deal with these minions? It's better to kill a chicken with a butcher knife. At this time, the fat cockroach took another step and rushed towards the white-fronted spider. With the previous experience, this time the stride was bigger and the speed was naturally faster. With a loud bang, the white-fronted spider was knocked out again, and some cockroaches were crushed to death. However, these dead cockroaches were only a small part, not to mention that there were other cockroaches constantly replenishing and flying towards the white-fronted spider. If there were no fat cockroaches, the white-fronted spider could use breath suppression. However, now its breath suppression is obviously ineffective, and it has to deal with the opponent's human wave tactics. As the saying goes, ants can kill elephants. If the white-fronted spider cannot deal with these cockroaches, it will lose in a short time. Qiuzilin was obviously very clear about this, so she asked, "When should we make a move?" The white-fronted stilt spider is now almost beaten up, and it is estimated that it will not last long. I'm afraid that by then, the fat cockroach will still be unharmed, and then our plan will not be implemented. Wan Qiushu shook his head. "Don't worry, don't forget that cockroaches are just food for the white-fronted stilt spider. How can a predator be easily killed by food? What's more, it is a level 4 zombie, and it has not been seen that it has used any ability from the beginning to now. Let's wait and see. If it is really killed by the fat cockroach, then it is useless for us to intervene, but it will expose ourselves." Because of Qiuzilin's invisibility and stealth ability, they are still in stealth mode and have not appeared. Otherwise, just the pile of cockroaches alone would be enough for them to drink a pot, and they might die of exhaustion. The white-fronted stilt spider stood up again, but this time it was obviously injured. The part that was hit was slightly concave, and black liquid was flowing out of the corner of its mouth. This injury obviously made it angry. It stood up and swung its body again. When it found that it still couldn't shake off the cockroaches, it suddenly curled up its body. This time it really rolled into a ball. Qiuzilin looked at the ball. Is this a defensive posture? But if the cockroaches still leave space when being attacked, then it's useless to roll into a ball. Wan Qiushu looked at the ball and suddenly remembered something. His face suddenly changed, and he hugged Qiuzilin's waist. At the same time, he stretched out his arms, then retracted them, and pulled them both over. The whole process was done in one go. Qiuzilin didn't understand what happened until she landed on the ground. She broke free from Wan Qiushu's hand and slapped her. "You bastard." Wan Qiushu took control of his body. "You want to hit him? Why hit me?" Qiuzilin was stunned for a moment and quickly said, "I'm sorry, I just did it subconsciously. Ask him to come out and explain." Wan Qiushu nodded. "Yes, you come out and explain clearly. If there is no reasonable explanation, you are dead." The next second, Wan Qiushu seemed to have changed into a different person and said in a deep voice, "Actually, I was just guessing just now because I saw that the white-fronted stilt spider seemed to be about to use its ultimate move, so I quickly took you away. Everything happened because time was urgent, so it happened like that. I really didn't mean it. I don't know if you two are satisfied with this explanation." Qiushu snorted coldly, "Since you are so anxious, why is there no movement over there now?" Wan Qiushu in his mind also snorted coldly, "Yes." Wan Qiushu was stunned. Maybe I guessed wrong. I'm not a god. It's normal to guess wrong. Qiushu glanced at her and was about to say something. At this time, a rustling sound was heard. Qiushu asked curiously, "What is that sound?" Wan Qiushu pointed to the place just now. "You will know if you look there." Qiushu turned around and saw that the cockroaches seemed to have been hit hard. They arched their bodies and flew into the sky, far exceeding the height of the roof, and then fell down again. Wan Qiushu in her mind asked, "What's going on?" Wan Qiushu pointed to one of the cockroaches and said, "Look at its belly. Do you see a yellow needle-like thing?" Qiushu and Wan Qiushu in her mind both responded at the same time, "I see it." Wan Qiushu continued, "Remember what the white-fronted stilt spider looked like just now? It has a lot of yellow-gray hair on its body. Now it seems that these hairs can be fired like hidden weapons to attack the enemy." Qiushu asked, "Isn't that the same as a porcupine?" But Spider and Pig are pronounced the same, so it's not surprising that they have the same abilities. The corner of Wan Qiushu's mouth twitched. "It's such a hot day. Why do I feel a little cold? Also, there will be a fine for using puns. Let's get back to the point. In fact, spiders do kick their hair. They will use the cone-like structure on their last pair of legs to brush down the bristles on their abdomen. The bristles have barbs and will spread in the air, thereby achieving the purpose of killing and protecting themselves. However, this kind of defensive action is generally only performed by the Kyung bird-catching spider and some wolf spiders, while the white-fronted stilt spider belongs to the genus stilt spider and does not normally have it. But now it seems that, after it became a zombie, it has evolved such a function, and it is more powerful. Qiushu said embarrassedly, "It seems that I really blamed you wrongly just now. I'm sorry. Can we go back now?" Wan Qiushu nodded. "It should be fine now. Since it has not used it before, it means that this trick has a great impact on it. Well, it is possible that the hair on its body disappeared after it was shot out, so it has not used it in order not to be mistaken for a programmer." Qiushu stumbled a bit. "The joke you told is pretty dull." Chapter 259. Experts fight. The two of them sneaked back again. It was not until they approached the original place that Qiushu discovered that the yellow hairs had penetrated the wall directly, just like a steel needle. Moreover, even after leaving the body, it still did not soften and was still in a rigid state. If she had not left in time just now, the martial arts uniform might not be able to withstand such a terrifying attack. So, she said again, "I'm sorry." At the same time, Wan Qiushu in her mind also said, "I'm sorry, I misunderstood you just now." Wan Qiushu snorted in his mind, and then waved his hand at Qiushu. "Let's see what's going on first." The two of them stuck their heads out together. At this time, the white-fronted stilt spider was still standing there, but none of the cockroaches on its body were gone. Of course, the price was that the hair on its body was gone. Previously, because of the yellow hair on its body, it looked yellowish, but now it has become pitch black, which blends perfectly with the environment. Most of the cockroaches did not die, except for some unlucky ones who were shot directly in the head. However, they were basically nailed to the walls on both sides by the yellow-haired spider, and could only stretch out their 6 legs and struggle desperately, but they could not break free. In addition, there were some cockroaches that had not come before, and some lucky ones who escaped the disaster. They were staring at the white-headed stilt spider from the side, looking like they would attack at any time. Although the fat cockroach was big enough, I don't know if there were cockroaches to block it, or it was fast enough, but it was not attacked by the yellow-haired spider. However, it was obviously very angry about its own kind being attacked, and it also raised its upper body slightly, looking ready to attack. However, the white-headed stilt spider had suffered a great loss just now, so it launched the attack first this time. It rushed towards the fat cockroach in a flash. It must be said that it has many long legs and runs fast. The two people on the roof only saw a black shadow flash by, and there was also a gust of wind. On the other side, the fat cockroach was not to be outdone and rushed over. With a bang, the two collided with each other, and their figures were soon revealed. It has to be said that predators are different. They still have the upper hand even at the same level. At this time, the white-fronted spider held the fat cockroach tightly with its two legs, and its fangs were wide open, ready to stab into the opponent's body. Once its fangs are inserted, the victory or defeat of the two sides will basically be decided, and the cockroach will definitely die. No one would have thought that the battle between level 4 zombies would be so fast. Even Qiuzilin on the roof was stunned. Is this a master? One move decides the outcome, and this came too suddenly. The white-fronted spider could only take a beating just now. Wan Qiushu looked down intently. Is there any variable? Qiuzilin asked curiously. Variable? As soon as the words fell, the cockroaches on the side began to move and rushed towards the white-fronted spider. Some of them directly hit the white-fronted spider, and some attacked the white-fronted spider's legs. However, two of them flew directly to the fat cockroach. At this moment, the fangs of the white-fronted spider fell and pierced the two of them. The two struggled for a while and then stopped moving, leaving only a layer of skin. The fat cockroach thus escaped, and while the cockroaches were attacking the white-fronted spider, its two front legs swung out and slashed at the head of the white-fronted spider. At the same time, its two wings spread out, and it could actually slash forward like a knife, turning directly 180 degrees. The attacks of those low-level cockroaches were naturally ineffective against the white-fronted spider, and only made its body slightly unstable. However, it had to be on guard against the attacks of the fat cockroaches. Originally, after sucking the two cockroaches dry, it was ready to do it again, until it killed the fat cockroach. But now it had to give up. After all, the opponent attacked its head, and it was not certain who would die first. At the moment, when the white-fronted spider relaxed, the fat cockroach retracted its wings, and changed its two front legs from sweeping to kicking, and flew backwards with a swish. Then, it flapped its wings, and landed on the ground, after getting away from the white-fronted spider. After seeing that the fat cockroach was safe, the other cockroaches also wanted to leave quickly. However, the white-fronted spider would not let them go easily. The runaway white-fronted spider turned into a juicer, squeezing the cockroaches one by one until only a layer of skin was left. Wan Qiushu sighed. This is really efficient. Qiuzilin's eyes were full of shock. The fight between the two lasted only a few minutes, but both sides were constantly playing games and making choices. If they were not careful, they would die. It was simply too exciting. The fat cockroach watched the white-fronted spider hunting its own kind. It was not known whether it felt sorry for its own kind or was angry because its reserve food was eaten. It kept crawling on the ground, looking very anxious. However, after the lesson just now, it did not dare to go forward easily. It was lucky to escape just now. If it happened again, it would not be sure that it would have such good luck. After the white-fronted spider had a full meal, its stomach became bigger, and it was very doubtful whether it would burst. At the same time, its eyes became even more blood red, but it still looked at the fat cockroach, its eyes full of desire, as if it would not stop until it ate the fat cockroach tonight. However, despite the slaughter by the white-headed stilt spider, the number of cockroaches was still quite large. In particular, some of the ones that had just been nailed to the wall by the yellow-haired one had already climbed down with the help of their own kind. After all, the yellow-haired attack was only a minor injury, and there was no poisoning effect, which was not enough to be fatal. So, the densely packed cockroaches once again surrounded the white-headed stilt spider. In the dark night, pairs of red eyes loomed and looked very scary. However, they did not rush forward to attack, but waited for the fat cockroach's order. The fat cockroach crawled restlessly for a while, as if thinking about whether to fight or flee. After a while, the antennae on its head shook wildly, as if typing Morse code, transmitting information that only they cockroaches could understand. Then, all the cockroaches spread their wings and flew into the sky, still surrounding the white-fronted stilt spider, but did not attack. Then, the fat cockroach also flew up. However, compared to the other cockroaches, it was too fat, so it was difficult to keep its body steady in the air, and it kept swaying. It always made people feel that, as long as the wind was a little stronger, it would be blown down. But it never was blown down. The white-fronted stilt spider would naturally not sit and wait for death, and directly kicked its 8 legs, jumped onto the outer wall of the house, and then climbed all the way up. Chapter 260 The Dying Spider. The cockroaches quickly flew upwards, trying to avoid the white-fronted spider. However, they were not good at flying, and the white-fronted spider was too fast, so the distance between the two sides was still getting closer. When the white-fronted spider was about the same distance, it suddenly jumped and hugged a cockroach directly, and fell to the ground with a bang sound, which even shook the building. In the process of landing, its fangs had already inserted into the body of the cockroach. After landing, the cockroach was only a layer of skin left, and it was thrown aside. Its front feet flicked its 2 fangs, as if it was picking its teeth, and then it looked at the cockroaches again, with its 8 legs ready to move, ready to launch the next attack at any time. At this time, the wings of the cockroaches vibrated together, and then they flew towards the white-fronted spider like a glider. In order not to be easily attacked, they kept changing directions during the flight to disrupt the sight of the white-fronted spider. However, since there were too many cockroaches, the white-fronted spider only needed to jump lightly to easily catch a cockroach, and there was no need to bother attacking. When the white-fronted spider was sucking cockroaches again, except for a few cockroaches that were responsible for fainting in front, the rest all flew behind the white-fronted spider. Then, they all rushed to the abdomen of the white-fronted spider. After eating a lot, the belly of the white-fronted spider had swelled like a ball, and even the skin was stretched thin, making people doubt that it would explode if touched. What's more, what if so many cockroaches hit it at the same time? The white-fronted spider obviously understood this. After noticing their intentions, it didn't care about eating, and rushed forward quickly with 8 legs. And those cockroaches obviously wouldn't let it go so easily, and they chased it all the way forward. The fat cockroach was still flapping its wings in the air, and didn't attack forward, perhaps because it was worried about repeating the same mistake. When the white-fronted spider rushed to a certain distance, it jumped onto the outer wall, and then climbed up. The fat cockroach saw that something was wrong, and hurried to fly up, but due to its weight, it could not fly up at all. Then, it hurriedly flew back, trying to get away from the white-fronted spider. However, due to the delay of time caused by wrong judgment and slow flying, the fat cockroach finally failed to escape the claws of the white-fronted spider. The white-fronted spider jumped from the high building and jumped directly to the fat cockroach. The two collided in the air, and then the fat cockroach was hugged by the white-fronted spider and fell to the ground together. The cockroaches that followed stayed in the air for a second, and then all flew over like crazy. After landing, you can see that the fangs of the white-fronted spider have been inserted into the body of the fat cockroach, and it is sucking each other frantically. The body of the fat cockroach is slowly getting smaller and even starting to deflate. On the contrary, the belly of the white-fronted spider was getting bigger and bigger. At this time, all the cockroaches that followed behind bumped into the belly of the white-fronted spider. The white-fronted spider was busy sucking the fat cockroach at this time, and did not have time to dodge. Moreover, the fat cockroach did not give up just like that, but fought hard, and even pierced the head of the white-fronted spider with its 2 front legs. Because of this, even if the white-fronted spider wanted to run, it was not so easy. When the first cockroach bumped into it, nothing happened, and it was even bounced back by the belly. Then, the second, the third, and countless cockroaches bumped into it. After being bumped countless times, the belly of the white-fronted spider finally exploded with a pop, and black liquid spilled everywhere. After the belly exploded, its 8 legs struggled for a while, and slowly stopped moving, and the whole thing fell directly to the ground. Zealand sighed. I never thought that in the end, both sides would suffer. By the way, are they all dead? Do we still have a chance? Their purpose today was to kill the level 4 zombies, not to watch the show. If both of them died, then they would have worked in vain. She glanced at the scanner. Not yet. Both of them are still alive. I guess there is still a fight. Yuzulan was stunned for a moment and then said, no way. The fat cockroach below had been completely shriveled and its belly was as thin as a piece of paper. The belly of the white-browed stilt spider was hit and exploded, and the black liquid inside was still flowing out. No matter how you look at it, these two guys look like they are about to die, and it is not surprising that they are already dead, but they are still alive. At this time, the cockroaches ran over quickly and ran to the side of the fat cockroach. The fat cockroach opened its mouth weakly, then bit the first cockroach, and then began to eat. As it ate, its belly began to fill up again, and even gradually recovered to its original appearance. When the fat cockroach was halfway through eating, it seemed to remember what had just happened and actually stopped. At this time, its stomach was similar to that of other cockroaches, and it was not overly fat. Then, it slowly pulled its body out of the fangs of the white-fronted stilt spider. After it was out of the fangs, it kicked the white-fronted stilt spider in the head, and kicked it away. At the same time, a crack appeared on its head, which showed how powerful the kick was. After the white-fronted stilt spider landed, it still did not move, as if it was already dead. The other cockroaches surrounded it, and then actually lifted up the body of the white-fronted stilt spider, and crawled towards the original hole. Seeing this, Yuzulan was a little anxious. Why don't you do it? If you don't do it, they will run away. Kyushu shook his head. Don't worry, if they dare to go back to the cave, just blow them up again. Besides, our insecticide has not been used yet, and it will be more powerful inside. However, what puzzles me most is the white-fronted stilt spider. Does it want to go deeper into the tiger's den? Or is it really seriously injured and dying, and can't resist? Yuzulan asked. What if it is really seriously injured and dying? Yuzulan gritted her teeth. Then we can only fight, and see if we can snatch food from the tiger's mouth. As long as we can kill it, we can be promoted to level 4, and then we will at least have the strength to fight against the fat cockroaches. At worst, we can run away. At this time, the cockroaches just carried the white-fronted stilt spider to the entrance of the cave, and were about to stuff it in. Suddenly, a click sound came from the white-fronted stilt spider. Then, you can see cracks appearing on its body. At the same time, a terrifying aura burst out from it. Chapter 261 Spider Shedding Skin. The cockroach that was carrying the white-fronted spider was directly pressed to the ground by the aura, and then its body began to crack until it exploded, and black liquid splashed everywhere. The other cockroaches were also trembling. They had wanted to follow him back, but now they all lay down. Although the fat cockroach was better, it also looked as if it was facing a great enemy, which showed how strong the aura was. Yuzulan whispered, is this spider going to level up to level 5? It feels much stronger than before. Kyushu glanced at the scanner. Not yet, probably because it was too full just now, and accumulated too much energy, and now it is released all at once. At this time, the body of the white-fronted spider directly cracked, and a slightly smaller white-fronted spider crawled out from it. The two looked exactly the same, but the aura became more powerful. Kyushu joked, you can grow hair again, after shedding your skin. At least you don't have to be a programmer anymore. The white-fronted spider looked directly towards the roof, as if it had heard something. The two of them squatted down quickly, not even daring to breathe. After watching for a while and finding nothing, the white-fronted spider looked at the fat cockroach again. The fat cockroach did not act rashly, but observed carefully on the spot. During this period, the breath of the white-fronted spider did not rise but fell, and it actually began to fall back, and the sense of oppression gradually decreased. The cockroaches that were previously pressed to the ground stood up one after another, and looked at the white-fronted spider one by one. Then, under the command of the fat cockroach, they rushed over together. The white-fronted spider curled up again, and the yellow hairs on its body stood up one by one. The next second, it was launched like a flying needle and pierced the cockroaches. However, this time the yellow hair was obviously more powerful. After hitting the first cockroach, the remaining power did not decrease, and it stabbed the second cockroach again, dragging the two cockroaches back. If these yellow hairs were not a little short, it would probably be possible to string the cockroaches together and put them on the grill for a while before eating. It was not until the fight below that the two of them showed up again. Wang Qiushu breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death just now. It can sense the vibration of just talking. It's so scary. Qi Yuzilan glanced at her and asked in a voice as thin as a mosquito, then you dare to speak now? Wang Qiushu smiled. They are fighting now. How can they care about us? Besides, the situation of the white-fronted stilt spider doesn't seem to be good. Qi Yuzilan was shocked when she heard it and looked down quickly. The white-fronted stilt spider looked invincible just now. How could it be bad? After the white-fronted stilt spider fired the yellow hair, it faced the fat cockroach that rushed over. Not only did it not fight, but turned around and ran away, as if it was scared. The fat cockroach saw its own kind die or get injured. It can be said that it suffered heavy losses this night, and its hometown was also destroyed, so it was naturally impossible to let the white-fronted stilt spider go easily. So, it chased the white-fronted stilt spider relentlessly, but there was a difference in speed between the two sides, so it could not catch up. The white-fronted stilt spider just ran away desperately, with no intention of turning back, which was really puzzling. Qi Yuzilan wondered what happened to make the spider run away. Could it be that a more terrifying zombie appeared? Wang Qiushu shook his head. No, at least there is no sign of any high-level zombies appearing on the scanner, unless it can bypass the scanner. However, it's almost our turn now. Qi Yuzilan was stunned for a moment. Now, just now, the two of them were fighting to death, and you didn't make a move. Is it appropriate for us to make a move now? Wang Qiushu smiled. I didn't make a move just now, because they didn't show their trump cards. These high-level zombies are more clever than each other, and it's not so easy to kill them. But now it's different. They have almost shown their trump cards. The most important thing is, if we don't make a move, the white-fronted stilt spider will really be killed. Qi Yuzilan was shocked and looked at the white-fronted stilt spider, but found that its aura was still decreasing, and even dropped to the level of a level 3 zombie. She couldn't help but frowned. What's going on? Wang Qiushu thought for a while. I have a guess, but it's hard to say for the time being. We have to wait and see to be sure. Let's kill them first. Qi Yuzilan looked at the two level 4 zombies running farther and farther, and asked, what should we do now? Should we just chase them? Wang Qiushu shook her head. Now they are both killing crazy. If we chase them, there will definitely be some noise. If they don't care about us, it's okay, but I'm afraid we will become innocent victims, which will be troublesome. Qi Yuzilan looked at her, waiting for her next words. Wang Qiushu estimated the distance between the two sides, then stretched out his hand with 5 fingers spread out. It's the southeast wind now, and this is a street. The buildings block the wind, and the wind can only blow in from here. I will stretch out my arm to send the insecticide over later, but the mouth of the bottle is too small, and the insecticide that can be sprayed out is limited. Besides, I can't keep my hand there all the time, otherwise I will be attacked. So, when the time comes, you will need to throw the Dragon Slayer spear over, pierce the insecticide bottle, and release the insecticide inside at once. Qi Yuzilan hesitated. In other words, we only have one chance. If we fail, it will be difficult to continue. Wang Qiushu nodded. What do you think? If it doesn't work, I'll find another way. Qi Yuzilan asked, don't you have 2 hands? Can't you carry the bottle with one hand and the soul-breaking sword with the other? This will definitely have a higher success rate than my javelin throwing. If I miss, it will be a waste. Wang Qiushu explained. If I reach out my hand at the same time, the fluctuations will be consistent, which will easily attract their attention. If I move first, and you throw the gun over, the gun is visible, and it will be the last one to arrive first, which will easily attract their attention, and make them ignore me. By the time they find the insecticide, it has already exploded, leaving them no time to react. Qi Yuzilan nodded. That's it. By the way, give me your soul-breaking knife. I will throw both together, and the success rate will be higher. Wang Qiushu directly separated the soul-breaking knife, and handed it to Qi Yuzilan. Then, she stretched out her arm, to send the insecticide over. However, considering the wind direction, she only sent the insecticide not far behind the fat cockroach. The fat cockroach and the white-fronted tall-legged spider, one was chasing, and the other was escaping. At this time, they stopped together and looked at Wang Qiushu's outstretched hand, although there was nothing there. It is worth mentioning that during this period, the aura of the white-fronted tall-legged spider had fallen to the level of a level 2 zombie. Chapter 260 To look at my insecticide. At the same time, when Wang Qiushu stretched out his hand, Qiuzilan took a deep breath, looked ahead, and threw the Dragon Slayer spear in her hand like a javelin. So, just when Wang Qiushu stopped, the Dragon Slayer spear was almost there. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Judging from the situation, the Dragon Slayer spear would definitely hit the bottle. Even if it was affected by the wind, there would be a slight deviation, but it would not affect the final result. Suddenly, the white-headed stilt spider and the fat cockroach moved at the same time. Although they were still chasing each other just now, they took almost the same action at this time. The few yellow hairs left on the white-headed stilt spider were swish and fired out, aiming at the Dragon Slayer spear in the air. Even if it could not penetrate the Dragon Slayer spear, it could change its trajectory. The fat cockroach was even more amazing. It actually threw out the beanpod-like egg case dragged by its tail. Such a large egg case would definitely knock the Dragon Slayer spear away. Wang Qiushu in his mind was stunned. It turns out that the egg case hanging on it can be used as a hidden weapon. It really doesn't treat its own child as a child. Sure enough, the yellow-haired man hit the Dragon Slayer spear first, making a ding-ding sound. Although it failed to penetrate the Dragon Slayer spear, it did change the movement trajectory of the Dragon Slayer spear. However, due to the heavy weight of the Dragon Slayer spear and the high speed it flew over, the magnitude of the change was not large, and it still went towards the insecticide. At this time, the cockroach egg case following closely behind hit the Dragon Slayer spear, but perhaps because it was not heavy enough, it still failed to completely knock the Dragon Slayer spear away. Qiuzilan breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death. Wang Qiushu shook his head. No. Throw the soul-breaking knife over as well. Qiuzilan was stunned for a second, and then threw the soul-breaking knife over. It was not until she made a move that she saw that the egg case exploded directly after failing to knock the Dragon Slayer spear away. The explosion generated a strong airflow that pushed the Dragon Slayer spear away. Moreover, after the explosion, a bunch of bullet-like things shot out from the egg case, hitting the Dragon Slayer spear and making a ding-ding sound. Only then did the Dragon Slayer spear completely lose its propulsion and fell from the air. Those bullet-like things also fell to the ground, struggling for a few times, and then stopped moving. Qiuzilan pointed at the things on the ground. What are those? Wang Qiushu sighed and nodded. Yes, they are small cockroaches that have not yet fully developed. It seems that they died directly because they hatched too early. Wang Qiushu felt a chill in his mind. It's really unlucky to have such a mother who actually used them as hidden weapons. Seeing that the Dragon Slayer spear was finally knocked down, the white-browed stilt spider and the fat cockroach breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed their movements. Then, they looked at each other warily. One wanted to run, and the other wanted to chase, and it seemed that they were ready to continue what they had not finished just now. At this time, they looked in the original direction again, where a soul-breaking knife was flying over. Although they didn't know what was going on, they obviously guessed that there was a conspiracy behind these two attacks. So, they jumped up at the same time and rushed towards the soul-breaking sword. Wang Qiushu smiled. I didn't expect there would be an unexpected gain. They asked for it. The soul-breaking sword is small in size and faster than the dragon-slaying spear. Moreover, in order not to be interrupted again this time, Wang Qiushu directly retracted his arm, and of course the insecticide was also retracted. So, the soul-breaking sword and the insecticide collided. The next second, the bottle exploded directly, and the insecticide inside was released. Just at this time, a strong wind blew, instantly spreading the insecticide into the air. Although the fat cockroach was close, it felt something was wrong when it smelled the insecticide. Just now in the nest, it was this smell that killed those cockroaches instantly. So, its wings suddenly spread, and it turned around and flew back. Although the white-fronted spider was a step slower than the fat cockroach, it was already in the air when it smelled the insecticide. It had no place to gain leverage, and no wings to fly away. It couldn't spin silk, so it fell to the ground after a while. At this time, it had already inhaled a large amount of insecticide. It lay on its back on the ground, its 8 legs trembling, and it was not far from death. Kyuhyuzelin looked at Wan Kyushu. Is it our turn to harvest now? Wan Kyushu sighed. It's a step behind. Although the strong wind helps the insecticide spread into the air, it also dilutes the concentration, so that it is not powerful enough. The fat cockroach fell to the ground tremblingly. Although it didn't look good, it was obviously not to the point of being poisoned to death. This is also because it ran fast and the concentration of insecticide in the air was not high. Kyuhyuzelin glanced at the fat cockroach and said, then let's give it a try. I believe it won't last long. Wan Kyushu shook his head and said, no, you just wait here. I'll take care of the rest. Kyuhyuzelin was stunned for a moment. Leave it to you? The next second, Wan Kyushu suddenly shouted, wait a minute, what do you want to do? Then, he looked at Kyuhyuzelin again and said, he's gone. At this time, the fat cockroach and the remaining cockroaches all shook and looked towards the south. Then, they spread their wings and flew towards the south. Wan Kyushu looked in that direction. That's it. Kyuhyuzelin continued, it's a house. Judging from the reaction of these cockroaches, did he escape? Wan Kyushu's face showed anxiety. It must be. The curse on him must have taken effect, attracting all those cockroaches. But how could he fight so many cockroaches? Kyuhyuzelin held Wan Kyushu down. Don't worry, let's get the weapons back first, and then rush back. We should be in time. Moreover, since he can think of this trick, he should be sure of it. You don't have to worry. Wan Kyushu forced herself to calm down. I hope so. Then, the two of them turned back to pick up weapons. The white-browed stilt spider was still lying on the ground, looking like it was not far from death, and it didn't even attack them. Of course, they didn't have the heart to finish it off now. He was standing on the open space next to the basketball court at this time, touching his chin and muttering, I don't know what this curse is. We obviously don't take our own kind seriously, but there is such a curse. Moreover, all the old and young are here. It's exciting to think about it. Kyuhyuzelin tugged at his pants. Why haven't you seen your sister yet? He sighed and responded with a look of despair. I told you just now to wait at home. Your sister will be back soon. You didn't listen and insisted on following her. You will regret it later. Kyuhyuzelin stared ahead with wide eyes and did not answer him. Chapter 263 Using myself as bait. He also looked up. Finally here. In front, a dark shadow was flying here, looking like a large moving dark cloud. He held the butt of the gun in his left hand and pushed Kyuhyuzelin behind him with his right hand. Stand behind me, don't run around, otherwise I can't protect you. It was late at night, and he didn't know if there were other nocturnal animals or zombies who liked to go to bars. If Kyuhyuzelin was kidnapped, he didn't know how to explain to her. Kyuhyuzelin surprisingly didn't sing against him this time, and stood behind him obediently, but still stuck out half of her head and looked forward, and didn't seem to be very scared. He stretched out his right hand to feel it. It's still the southeast wind, and the wind force this time is neither too strong nor too weak, just right. However, to be safe, let's wait until they get closer. After that, he held the gun in both hands, and aimed at the insecticide bottle on the open space in front. This was just upgraded by him. He originally thought that 2 bottles would be enough, but who knew that he still couldn't kill the fat cockroach, and the appearance of the white-fronted tall-legged spider was also unexpected, which disrupted his plan. So, now he had to use himself as bait to lure the fat cockroach over. Otherwise, with the strength of Wan Kyushu and the others, they might not be able to beat each other. Moreover, since there is a better way now, there is no need for the two of them to fight desperately. However, the fat cockroach's eyesight was too good. It actually folded its wings and fell to the ground when it was still some distance away from the bottle. The group of cockroaches following behind also fell to the ground one after another, but they quickly crawled to the front and protected the fat cockroach behind them. In this way, even if there are really insecticides or other traps, they will be the first to be hit, which can give the fat cockroaches behind time to react. He frowned. Did they stop because they saw it, or because they felt the existence of an object like a pesticide bottle through the wind? It's true that the old and immortal are thieves. This kind of intelligent and high-level zombie is really hard to deal with. QI Zillion shook her head in disappointment. These zombies are brainless. You can't even deal with brainless zombies, which shows that your IQ is not high. He was speechless. Look at their reactions. Do they look like they are brainless? Besides, who told you that they are brainless? QI Zillion responded, it's Plants vs. Zombies. The zombies in it are brainless, so they want to eat Dave's brain. These zombies are the same as them, so they have no brains either. He was so angry that he almost fell over. You said it was Plants vs. Zombies, and this is a zombie. How can it be the same? QI Zillion immediately changed her words. Then it's Plants vs. Zombies. He decided not to bother with the child anymore. Just wait and see. If they don't come over, I have plenty of ways to get them to come. After that, he took QI Zillion and retreated step by step. He just couldn't believe it. Would the cockroaches watch him run away? Sure enough, seeing his movements, the cockroaches stirred and rushed forward quickly. He smiled triumphantly. Did you see that? However, he soon found that the fat cockroach was still standing there, and his smile froze. Looking at the large number of cockroaches rushing towards him, QI Zillion grabbed his pants tightly and was so nervous that she couldn't speak. He was still slowly retreating with QI Zillion. However, when the group of cockroaches rushed over, they stepped on the trap on the ground and were blown to pieces with a boom. Then, another explosion sounded. The remaining cockroaches quickly spread their wings and flew into the sky, trying to launch an airstrike. However, as soon as they flew up, they touched some thin wires, causing another explosion. He looked up at the bright sky. The fireworks lit with life are so bright. These were all modified by him directly using the system, just to deal with these cockroaches. After all, he doesn't know how to set these traps, and doesn't understand the knowledge in this area. However, although the two explosions killed a lot of cockroaches, they were not completely wiped out due to the large number of cockroaches. The remaining ones that slipped through the net were still rushing over here. In fact, since there were no traps on the road ahead, their speed increased a lot. He picked up QI Zillion and put her on the juicer beside him. At this time, the juicer was only 1 person tall. Then he climbed in and got into the juicer with QI Zillion. Then, the juicer began to grow larger and larger, but the lid was not closed. The cockroaches that successfully rushed over soon followed and got into the juicer. The juicer was still growing larger until the last cockroach got in, and then the lid was suddenly closed. Then, a door suddenly opened on the juicer, and he and QI Zillion walked out unscathed. This was the function he had just upgraded. He could set up a safe space on the juicer, and would not be attacked by any attacks. He could also open a door on the wall for easy access. These two cost him a total of 200 experience points, which seemed to be worth it. He glanced at the scanner and breathed a sigh of relief. It's the only one left now. QI Zillion looked at him. Can you beat it? It's the biggest one. He pointed to his head. Force can't solve the problem, but the brain can. Just watch me deal with it. QI Zillion turned her head away, obviously not believing it. The fat cockroach opened and closed its jaws, and its blood-red eyes looked at the two of them. At the same time, its 6 legs stretched back, as if ready to escape. After all, it never thought that so many cockroaches would be dealt with, and by such a weak human. Although it could feel that its fellows were not dead, they were trapped in the big container after all. If it rushed over, it would probably end up in the same fate. Thinking of this, it turned around and prepared to leave. QI Zillion looked at him. It's leaving. Can you catch up with it? He didn't answer, but patted the juicer next to him. The juicer had not been turned on, and the cockroaches inside were still alive. Startled by him, they moved around frantically, hitting the wall and making a series of crackling sounds. The fat cockroach was attracted by the sound and turned his head. He patted the juicer and shouted, "Don't you want your kind? If not, I'll squeeze the juice." Because he was worried that the fat cockroach didn't understand human language, he wanted to make an international friendly gesture, but considering that it would have a bad impact on QI Zillion, he hooked his finger instead. I don't know if it was his words or his actions that angered the fat cockroach, and it actually rushed over here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, Killing the Big Cockroach. Although the fat cockroach had become thinner, it still made a thump 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 sound when running on the road, and the ground could also feel a slight vibration. Qiu Zillion's little face was pale, and she nervously grabbed his pants, and refused to let go. Such a huge creature was really scary. The fat cockroach was very fast at first, but it gradually slowed down when it approached the insecticide bottle. Although the cockroaches were fine when they passed by just now, and they ran a little longer before triggering the trap. However, it now has a psychological shadow on things like bottles. So, when it was about to get close to the insecticide, its wings suddenly spread open, and then it shook quickly and suddenly flew into the sky. He felt the wind blowing over his body. The wind direction is just right. I knew you wouldn't be so easily fooled. Zillion, it's your turn. Qiu Zillion looked ahead with a serious expression, and then shouted, "Explode." With a bang, an explosion suddenly occurred under the insecticide bottle, and the bottle was directly bounced into the sky. During the ascent, the insecticide inside naturally leaked out, and with the wind blowing, a large amount of insecticide flew directly towards the fat cockroach in the sky. The fat cockroach was startled. Although it had been prepared, it didn't expect to be hit. It quickly flapped its wings and tried to escape. However, since it had already inhaled a lot of insecticide before, it just hadn't reached the lethal dose. Now this large amount of insecticide happened to be the last straw that broke the camel's back. The fat cockroach's consciousness began to become blurred, and its wings could not flap. Then, at a certain moment, it fell down like a kite with a broken string. However, after landing, it was still not dead. Thinking of him, the culprit, it suddenly raised its head, then propped up its body, and still rushed towards him, but its speed was obviously much slower. Along the way, due to its large size, some traps that had not been triggered just now were all triggered by it. A series of explosions sounded, blowing up most of the fat cockroach's body, but it still persisted. Qiu Zillion looked at him, and saw that he didn't move, so she pretended to be fearless. He looked at the fat cockroach crawling over, and the knife in his hand was ready to swing at any time. He could see that the fat cockroach was at the end of its strength, and he only needed to guard against its dying struggle. It often overturned at the last blow before death. The fat cockroach's speed was getting slower and slower, until it was even crawling in the end. It was almost dragging its body forward with its legs. For safety reasons, he once again protected Qiu Zillion behind him. Finally, the fat cockroach crawled in front of him with difficulty and swung its front legs violently, but it really didn't have the strength to chop it down. Finally, its head tilted, its front legs loosened, and it fell directly to the ground, splashing dust all over the floor. He glanced at the scanner and was relieved after confirming that the fat cockroach was dead. At this time, Wan Qiushu and the others just arrived. After seeing the fat cockroach, they rushed over here quickly. He glanced at the fat cockroach, then at the still shaking juicer, and silently started the juicer. It would be troublesome if the guys inside ran out. As he approached, Qiu Zillion saw Qiu Zillion was there too, and her face changed instantly, and she rushed over at a faster speed. Qiu Zillion was happy for killing the fat cockroach, but after seeing her sister's face, she froze and didn't know what to do. Qiu Zillion picked up her sister and checked for a while, then asked, "Are you hurt?" Qiu Zillion shook her head, already frightened by her nervous sister. She had never seen her sister like this before. Qiu Zillion put Qiu Zillion down, then walked towards him and slapped him. "Are you crazy? Do you know how dangerous it is? What if something happens to Zillion? What should I do in the future?" He looked at the violent Zillion, opened his mouth, but finally said nothing. In fact, Zillion was right. He shouldn't take risks with Zillion. If something happened, he really couldn't be responsible. Wan Qiushu wanted to scold him. After all, he was using his own life as bait again, which was too dangerous. But seeing Zillion's expression, she didn't say anything. At this time, Qiyu Zillion pulled her sister's clothes. Sister, it's none of his business. I insisted on coming out with you. I saw that you haven't come back for so long, so I wanted to come out to find you. Qiyu Zillion's anger suddenly disappeared by more than half, but she still said, then he shouldn't have brought you out. Doesn't he know how dangerous it is here? Qiyu Zillion continued, it's not dangerous. He has been protecting me. Besides, we set up the trap early in the morning. By the way, the big cockroach was killed by my bomb. Wan Qiushu was shocked. Is it true? Qiyu Zillion said proudly, of course it's true. I shouted explode just now, and the bomb exploded. The big cockroach was flying in the sky, and was directly blown down. Later, it crawled in front of us and died. So, it must have been killed by my bomb. Wan Qiushu naturally didn't believe that the bomb had such a great power. Besides, they had tried bombs before, and obviously failed to directly kill a level 4 zombie. And looking at the body of the fat cockroach, it didn't look like it was killed by a bomb. So she looked at him, what's going on? He was touching his burning face. Look at the two sisters. Shouldn't you care about whether my face hurts? Instead, you care about the cockroach. Wan Qiushu felt a little distressed and a little amused. It's your fault for doing something wrong. You deserve to be beaten. Besides, you are so thick-skinned. What's a little injury? Tell me how you killed the fat cockroach. He looked at Wan Qiushu speechlessly and then explained, I buried the insecticide bottle in advance and fixed it, and then placed a controlled bomb underneath. Actually, I wanted to come by myself, but Zillion happened to come with me, so I thought about letting her participate and gave her the authority to control the bomb. Qiyu Zillion snorted proudly. He went on to say, the first time those cockroaches rushed over, I didn't use insecticide, just to make the fat cockroach think it was okay. Later when it came over, it was still quite alert and actually flew into the sky. However, my bomb was prepared for this moment. The bomb detonated, directly pushing the bottle of insecticide into the sky, and at the same time the insecticide inside was released, and with the wind blowing, it was poisoned to death. Wan Qiushu nodded. So, was it you who killed it or Zillion? Qiyu Zillion immediately said, of course it was me. He nodded repeatedly. Yes, you are right. Chapter 265 The Hiding Spider. Wan Qiushu changed the question. Then can it be upgraded? He nodded. Of course. After all, I made the insecticide. Wan Qiushu breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Otherwise all our work tonight would have been in vain. Especially you. You are trying to kill yourself, aren't you? You knew those cockroaches were so powerful, but you still dared to run out. If something went wrong, you would have been eaten by now. He smiled. I know my limits, and isn't it good now? You two don't even have to do anything. It was solved directly. Wan Qiushu nodded. That's right. By the way, does your face still hurt? He was speechless. Your concern comes too late, and you asked after I could upgrade. It turns out that I'm just a tool, just used for upgrading. Wan Qiushu snorted. Don't you treat us as tools. Besides, you just got slapped in the face just now. You won't die. He shook his head repeatedly. Who said that? You have to consider that she is a level 3 zombie, and I'm a human. The slap didn't blow my head off, because I'm different from before. Wan Qiushu nodded in agreement. That's right, next time let Zillion turn into a crab before fighting her. With such big claws, the power should be much greater. He was so angry that he was speechless. Wan Qiushu held up his face and looked at it for a while. Were you hit by someone just now? How come there are two palm prints on your face, one lighter and one deeper? He broke free from Wan Qiushu's hands. Have you forgotten that when I controlled you, our bodies were connected? I can empathize with you, so this is the result. Wan Qiushu laughed out loud. Who told you not to explain clearly and hugged others indiscriminately? You deserve it. And I was also slapped in the face. However, you have palm prints on both sides now, which looks much more harmonious, with a kind of symmetrical beauty. He nodded. That's right. God once said that when someone hits your left cheek, you should put your right cheek against his and let him hit you. Wan Qiushu was surprised. Do you believe in God? He denied it directly. Of course not. How can I believe in someone who asks you to put your face against his to be beaten? I still believe in myself. Wan Qiushu made a TSK sound. At this time, Qiuzilan came over with her sister. I'm sorry, I was too impulsive just now, but I was also worried about Zillion. Is your face okay? He waved his hands repeatedly. Forget it, you'd better not apologize. You apologized just now, and then slapped me. I can't accept your apology. Qiuzilan didn't know what to say for a moment. Wan Qiushu slapped him directly. He has thick skin and flesh. He can be fine, even if he gets hit a few more times. And he really deserves to be beaten. He actually dared to bring Zillion here. If something happens, I really don't know what to do. He sighed. The situation was urgent at the time, and I didn't have time to think too much. If it was too late, I was worried that the fat cockroach would kill the white-browed stilt spider and then upgrade it or something, which would be a waste of effort. In addition, she followed behind, so I had to bring her here as well. If possible, I didn't want to bring her. Qiuzilian snorted coldly. If you hadn't brought me here, could you have killed the big cockroach? He pointed at Qiuzilian, whose face was as hen. Talk to your sister about this. Qiuzilian looked at her sister's face and stopped talking immediately. Just at this time, the juicer stopped. They threw the fat cockroaches and some other corpses into squeeze juice, which was considered to be a cleanup of the place. Afterwards, they walked back to the battlefield just now, where there was still a pile of corpses. Of course, the most important thing is that the corpse of the white-fronted stilt spider is still there. Walking on the road, Wan Qiushu suddenly said, I just realized that you actually brought a light here. No wonder you can see things so clearly. He replied, of course, we too are not like you, and we don't have night vision. How can we see things without a light? Qiuzilian nodded in agreement. Wan Qiushu asked again, but wouldn't it be too conspicuous? What if the zombies are attracted here? I don't want to encounter insects like cockroaches again. He glanced at Wan Qiushu. We are now level 4. Those zombies dare to come here. It's good enough that they don't turn around and run away. Besides, the zombies on our side are almost dead. And here, it's good to raise to level 4 zombies at the same time. This is because the cockroaches can produce and sell themselves. Otherwise, I estimate that at most they can raise one level 4 zombie. So, don't worry. Wan Qiushu nodded. Then I'm relieved. Walking all the way back to that street, the ground was full of cockroach corpses. Of course, there were some that were still alive. But either they were seriously injured and unable to move, or they were nailed to the wall by the yellow hair of the white-fronted spider and could not run away. Wan Qiushu looked at the empty space in the distance and was shocked. Just now, the spider was lying there and couldn't move. Could it be that someone really took advantage of it? Qiuzilian protected her sister behind her, holding the Dragon Slayer spear tightly in her hand, looking up and looking around vigilantly. Although Qiuzilian didn't know what happened, she was also infected and became nervous. He turned on the scanner, took a look, and then pointed to a house. It's inside. Several people walked over together. Wan Qiushu glanced at him. Are you sure it's inside? He shook his head. It should be it. After all, there should be no other level 4 zombies here except it. Wan Qiushu took the lead. It could also be that other level 3 zombies ate it and upgraded. Let me go first. After that, she stepped in. After a while, there was no sound of fighting inside. Wan Qiushu shouted, it's okay, come in. Several people followed him in, only to find Wan Qiushu standing in a corner. In front of Wan Qiushu, the white-fronted stilt spider was laying. It was lying on the ground, with almost no breath on its body, but it was obviously not dead yet. It didn't react at all when it felt several people approaching. Wan Qiushu wondered, why did it run so far here? Is it struggling subconsciously because it's about to die? He didn't answer, but asked, who of you two will do it? If it dies later, there will be no chance to obtain its ability. Qiuzilian said directly, I already have the crab transformation, so there is no need to get a similar ability. Let's give it to Qiushu. Wan Qiushu was entangled, but I don't really want to become a spider spirit, and this spider doesn't look very strong. He was speechless. Then do you still want to upgrade? If you don't do it, it will really die. Chapter 266 Hidden Eggs. QI Zillion on the side was eager to try. Let me do it. I'm good at killing zombies. QI Zillion glared at her, and she immediately calmed down. QI took a deep breath. Let's fight. The worst that can happen is that I'll grow a few more legs in the future. After that, she walked up with the hammer of the earth. QI Zillion directly pulled her sister out. Don't watch this. It's too violent. QI Zillion was excited and refused to leave, but in the end she couldn't persuade her sister. It was unknown whether the white-fronted stilt spider was unable to resist or gave up the resistance. In short, facing QI's hammer of the earth, it did not show any reaction. After a while, its head was smashed into a paste, and its 8 long legs were no longer able to support it. It fell directly to the ground, obviously dead. QI breathed a sigh of relief and turned around to go out. At this time, he pulled Kyushu. Wait a minute. Kyushu looked at him. What's wrong? You're not dead yet. He shook his head. That's not the case. There's just something I need you to do. Kyushu asked curiously. What else? You don't want to do something while they're not here, do you? After saying that, she looked at him with a strange look. He patted Kyushu's head. What are you thinking about every day? Look up. Kyushu looked in the direction of his finger. What is that? At the junction of the ceiling and the wall, there was a corner that formed a triangle. On top of it, there was a piece of cardboard that surrounded something, and the cardboard was nailed by some yellow hairs. Needless to say, this must have been done by the white-fronted stilt spider. He guessed it might be the eggs of the white-fronted stilt spider. I found its existence on the scanner. Otherwise, we might have overlooked it. Kyushu asked curiously. Eggs? Are you sure it's eggs, not alive? He thought for a while. It should be eggs. After all, white-fronted stilt spiders lay eggs. If they were alive, why would they stay here? They would have run away long ago. Kyushu nodded. Although this made sense, she still trembled with the long-handled soul-breaking knife and reached out to carefully cut the cardboard. If a bunch of small spiders really ran out of it, she would definitely throw away the knife at the first time. Fortunately, the cardboard was not hard, so it was cut open in a short while. At the moment of cutting, the things inside could not be supported, and a disc-shaped egg-like thing fell to the ground with a pop sound. He hurriedly walked forward, picked it up and checked it, and finally breathed a sigh of relief when he found that it was not broken. Kyushu looked at him. Don't tell me you want to keep this thing. I will kick both of you out when the time comes. He laughed. This thing is so good. It won't make webs everywhere. Just throw it outside the house, and it can also serve as a warning. However, it is a zombie after all. Let's see the situation first. If it doesn't work, we can only squeeze the juice. Kyushu looked at the egg. By the way, how many are there in it? Will a bunch of them run out? No, I remember the attack of the cockroach's egg case just now. It's really disgusting. He weighed the egg. Don't worry, the scanner shows that there is only one in it, and a bunch of them won't run out, but I don't know if it's male or female. Kyushu still couldn't accept it, and hurried out. The two sisters Zillion were waiting at the door, but turned around and saw him walking out with an egg. Zillion asked curiously, what is this? Is it edible? I have never seen such a big egg. His mouth twitched. Not everything can be eaten, especially now. Many things cannot be eaten. As for this, it is the egg of the spider just now. Zillion's eyes widened. Egg? Can it hatch a little spider? At the same time, he reached out to touch the egg. Zillion grabbed her sister and said, so, when it was dying, it had to crawl into the house just to lay the egg? He nodded and said, besides, the location of the egg is very hidden, and it was at night. If I hadn't found it on the scanner, I wouldn't have known the location of the egg. Kyushu on the side interrupted and said, so, it didn't want to escape before, but wanted to find a place to lay eggs? He replied, yes, I thought it was wrong to eat so much at the time. Now it seems that it really needs a lot of energy to lay eggs. Later, after the energy was replenished, it thought about finding a place to lay eggs. Of course, most of its energy should have been transmitted to the eggs, so its breath was weakening at that time. Wan Qiushu sighed. One uses its egg sheath as a weapon and even eats its own offspring, and the other uses his life to lay eggs, and finally does not hesitate to use his own life as a cover. The contrast is really too big. Qiushu suddenly asked, "So, you discovered the existence of the egg at the beginning?" He nodded, "But I didn't say it. First, I was afraid that the white-browed stilt spider would fight back desperately after knowing it. Second, I didn't want it to die with an obsession." Qiushu then asked, "Then what are you going to do with this egg? Are you going to squeeze the juice?" He shook his head. "Of course I'll raise it. Let's see how the situation is first." Wan Qiushu interrupted, "But, if the white-browed stilt spider puts a curse on you similar to that of the cockroach, wouldn't you be raising an enemy?" He checked and affirmed, "It's okay, there is no curse on me. Besides, our original target was not it. Since we killed it by mistake, raising its offspring is also compensation. If that doesn't work, the worst that can happen is that we can release it. Anyway, it's just an ordinary zombie level now, and it poses no threat to us." Wan Qiushu nodded. "It's up to you. In short, I still say that you can't bring this thing into my room." Qiushu was eager to try. I want it. Give it to me. I want to hatch a little spider to play with." Qiushu grabbed her and said, "You are not allowed to raise it. This is a zombie, not a pet." Qiushu pouted and shook her sister's hand. Raise it. I have never raised a spider. Besides, you are often not here, and you refuse to take me out. I'm so bored at home alone." Qiushu felt her heart being pulled, and she looked at him again. "Are you sure this thing won't be dangerous?" He shook his head. "How can I guarantee this to you? However, Zillion is wearing level 3 protective gear. Theoretically, there should be no problem. Of course, we have to wait and see the specific situation when the time comes." Qiushu hesitated. "Then raise it." Qiushu jumped up with joy when she heard this and snatched the egg from his arms and held it in her arms. Wan Qiushu shook his head and said, "You are all crazy." Chapter 267 Sisters Talk. After dealing with the white-fronted spider, the next step was to clean up the place. He was responsible for moving the dead cockroaches into the juicer, while Wan Qiushu and the other man were responsible for finishing off the cockroaches that were still alive. However, after throwing all the cockroaches into the juicer, he still frowned. Wan Qiushu couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" He replied, "The curse of that cockroach hasn't disappeared yet." Wan Qiushu glanced around. "Those cockroaches are all dead. There shouldn't be any that escaped. Could it be that there is still a level 4 male cockroach?" He shook his head. "No, I just opened the scan and checked. There is still an ordinary level cockroach underground. I don't know if it's lucky or what. It's not dead. I think it's because of it that the curse is still in effect." Wan Qiushu walked to the hole that was blown open and took a look. "What should we do now? Should we go down? But it's so dark down there. We have to bring a light." He glanced at the dark hole. "Forget it. It's just an ordinary cockroach. It can't cause any big waves. We don't know what the situation is down there. If there is a landslide, after we go down, we will be buried alive. Besides, this way, there is another reason to raise spiders. Let the two of them continue the hatred of the previous generation and continue to kill." Wan Qiushu glanced at him. "That spider is so pitiful. It has such a heavy burden on its back before it was born." He shook his head. "This is the goal of the corpse, so that it won't be too confused after it is born and don't know what to do." Qiushu came over and said, "I have a question. Since cockroaches and spiders can give birth to offspring, why can't zombies? Or have they actually begun to reproduce in some places?" The two were shocked at the same time. He thought for a while. "At least we haven't seen any pregnant zombies in this area, and these cockroaches and spiders are only female, no males, so it's hard to say how they reproduce. And whether zombies have to go through 10 months of pregnancy before giving birth to offspring like humans, it is indeed unclear. However, as long as their level is not high, it will not have much impact on us. After all, in front of the level, no matter how many there are, they are just ants." Wan Qiushu nodded. Qiushu frowned. "If that's the case, the survivors will have a harder time." He sighed. "We are not gods. We can't save everyone. What's more, we can only live a little better now, and all we can do is kill as many zombies as possible. As for completely eliminating zombies, unless the authorities develop weapons of mass destruction specifically for zombies, Wan Kyushu continued, so, we just need to live our own lives well, and don't think too much. As for the authorities, they would be doing a good thing if they killed fewer survivors, not to mention expecting them to kill zombies. He made the juices smaller and took out the zombie virus inside. It's getting late, we should go back. Next, we have to continue killing zombies to accumulate experience and try to get a car out as soon as possible. In addition, I don't know when Zhao Peio's group will be back. So, the group walked back. On the way, Qiyu Zillion held the huge egg tightly in her arms, as if it was some extraordinary treasure, and she couldn't stop smiling. Wan Qiyu looked at her, and couldn't help but teasing. Zhilian, I'm a little hungry. How about making a midnight snack later? Zhilian nodded repeatedly. Okay, I'm hungry too. Wan Qiyu went on. How about frying the egg? Make an fried egg, and we'll each have half. Zhilian quickly shook her head. No, I want to keep it for hatching little spiders. Besides, these are eggs laid by zombies, and can't be eaten. Wan Qiyu was speechless. When did you become so smart? Zhilian responded directly. I've always been very smart, but the bad guy is right. I can't stay with you, because you'll affect my IQ. Wan Qiyu was almost angry to death and kicked him. He turned around. She said, why did you kick me? Wan Qiyu said directly, you said that, right? And you also mocked me tonight. I just forgot about it. He was stunned for a moment. Don't mention the past. What's more, it's not good to be angry. Anger hurts the liver. It's not good for your health. So, don't be angry. Let's forget about this matter. Wan Qiyu shook her head. That won't work. Let me beat you up. I will definitely not be angry after beating you, and I won't hurt my body. He ran away. You won't be hurt, but I am. Wan Qiyu hurriedly chased after him. Don't run. Qiyu Zillion looked at the two people going away. Should we catch up with them? Qiyu Zillion shook her head. They are just joking. We won't join in the fun. By the way, it's getting late now. Are you sleepy? If you are, sister will hold you. Also, is the egg heavy, or I can help you hold it? Qiyu Zillion yawned when she heard that, but still said, I'm not sleepy, not at all. The egg is not heavy, I can just hold it. Qiyu Zillion smiled. Why, are you afraid that I will snatch your egg away? Qiyu Zillion hurriedly said, no, grandpa once said that when the duckling hatches from the egg, it will regard whoever it sees first as its mother. So, I have to stay with this egg, so that when the little spider comes out, it will regard me as its mother, and will not refuse to play with me. Qiyu Zillion's expression dimmed. Will you blame your sister for leaving you alone at home all the time? Qiyu Zillion thought about it and still said, no, I know that my sister goes out to do something. If I follow her, I will definitely become a burden to her. So, it's okay for Zillion to be alone at home. However, my sister has never tried to go out at night before, and I was afraid to stay at home alone, so I followed the bad guys out. Qiyu Zillion touched her sister's head and then sighed again. Qiyu Zillion lowered her head and said, actually, the bad guy didn't take me with him at first, but I saw him rushing out and followed him quietly. Later, when we reached the first floor, he saw that there was no other way, so he took me here. So, this time it has nothing to do with him. You can blame me if you want to. Qiyu Zillion smiled. At least you can admit your mistakes and be a good kid. Are you happy to come out tonight? Qiyu Zillion raised her head and smiled. Of course I'm happy. Not only did I kill the big cockroach, but I also got a spider's egg. That big cockroach was so scary and disgusting. Fortunately, it died. Qiyu Zillion smiled and nodded. Chapter 268 Host Special Suit. After returning, since it was too late, they each took a shower and went to bed. The next morning, they did not go out, but took a day off and rested. After all, they had already reached level 4, and their equipment also needed to be updated. After breakfast, he turned on the system and saw the message sent by the system. Ding, the host successfully killed a level 4 zombie and gained 10,000 experience points. The host completed the promotion task and successfully promoted to level 4 and assisted Wang Qiushu to be promoted to level 4. New products have been added to the mall. Please choose to buy them. The auxiliary equipment can continue to be upgraded. Sure enough, because he killed the fat cockroach first, he was promoted to level 4. And Wang Qiushu was promoted to level 4 because he successfully killed the white-headed tall-legged spider, but I don't know if he has obtained its ability. If Qiu Zilan wants to upgrade, she probably has to kill another level 4. But by then, the equipment will be upgraded, which will be much easier. He looked at them all again, and the things in it are the key. Level 4 stamina potion, instantly restores stamina, can only be used 4 times a day, requires 50 experience points to purchase. Level 4 healing potion, instantly heals injuries and lasts for 2 minutes, can only be used once a day, requires 50 experience points to purchase. Power pill, advanced, can only take 1 pill a day, can permanently increase stamina for 5 minutes, requires 1000 experience points to purchase. These are upgraded versions of old products, and the price is not expensive. After all, he now has tens of thousands of experience points. However, thrift is a traditional virtue, and he will not buy these things unless it is necessary. Host Special Set, a set specially designed for the host, available for purchase after level 4. The specific attributes can only be viewed after purchase, and requires 10,000 experience points to purchase. He looked back and read it again. Yes, there are 4 zeros at the end, which means that such a set of armor with unknown effects requires 10,000 experience points, which is equivalent to a level 4 zombie. He couldn't help but say, "System, you are going too far. It's just a set of armor, but it's so expensive." The system replied in an indifferent tone, "You can choose not to buy it, but I reiterate that the host's armor can only be purchased from the mall and cannot be upgraded by yourself. Even if it is upgraded, the host cannot use it." He was speechless. That's forced buying and selling. Forget it, I'll take a look at other products first. As a result, he continued to flip down, but found that there was nothing left. He didn't believe it, so he looked through it again. There was really nothing left. System, come out. I worked so hard to reach level 4, but in the end, apart from those medicines, I only got a piece of armor, and nothing else. Did you hide those new products? System, that's right. There are only so many things this time. Because level 4 is a watershed, after reaching level 4, individual abilities will be greatly improved, so those general external objects are no longer very useful, and there is naturally no need to release them. He shook his head. Who said that? Give me some disposable traps or something like that. And the paparazzi suit from before. I have experience points. Just release it. System, I just said that from now on, I will pay more attention to the individual. Traps are no longer meaningful. Besides, haven't you always used the juicer as a trap? As for the paparazzi suit, I'm sorry, the host's level is not high enough. He stopped struggling. After all, even the system said that his level was not high enough, so it really was not high enough. Otherwise, the system would definitely use it to cheat him of experience points. He then asked, is there any new information about the zombie virus? System, the zombie virus can be used as a new pollution-free and efficient energy source, which can be applied in various aspects, especially in cars. He nodded. He was worried that, even if he bought a car from the system mall, the energy source would still be a problem. Whether it was solar energy or gasoline, it would be very troublesome. Unexpectedly, the zombie virus turned out to be a new energy source. No wonder the system asked him to keep it before. And since it is an efficient energy source, it means that it can generate great power. In addition, there are zombies everywhere, so there is no need to worry about running out of oil. Moreover, maybe even juicers, lights, water heaters, etc. can be replaced with new energy sources, so there is no need to take them out to bask in the sun every day. However, considering that he has not seen the actual effect yet, he has not upgraded these things for the time being. Since there is nothing new in the mall, he stopped thinking about it, gritted his teeth, and bought the host-specific suit. Even the system said that it depends on individual ability next, so he can only buy it anyway, otherwise it will be difficult to survive in this increasingly dangerous world. Ding, the host successfully purchased the host-specific suit, and 10,000 experience points were deducted. He breathed a sigh of relief, fearing that the cheating system would make him fail to purchase and deduct 10,000 experience points. However, he took a look at himself and found that there was no change, and no new equipment appeared in front of him. System, the host-specific suit will take effect directly on the host. No matter what clothes the host wears, it will not be affected. He thought about it. What if I don't wear anything? The system paused for a moment in order to prevent the appearance of pictures that are not suitable for children. The system will block your key parts. He was stunned for a moment. I thought they would at least give me a piece of underwear or something, and your code looks even more inappropriate for children, doesn't it? The system ignored him. He directly checked the properties of the suit, and before that, he secretly prayed that it must be very strong. Otherwise I would be sorry for my 10,000 experience points. Host specific suit, tailor-made for the host. You can choose one ability of the auxiliary to use for yourself every day, and the auxiliary will not be affected. The suit has the characteristics of a non-stick pan, which can resist attacks from zombies of level 4 and below, and can resist bullets from some guns. It can be upgraded, and the upgrade is level 5 and corresponding experience. He was stunned for a moment, and then he was ecstatic. This means that he will be able to use the abilities of Wan Kyushu and others in the future. Although he can only use one ability every day, this is without transforming into a zombie. In other words, he will not be restricted in using this ability and can use it at any time. In this way, his attack power will be greatly improved. It's just that this one item is a bit less. If there are more items, it will be exciting. At that time, he will be equivalent to a humanoid zombie, or a zombie with all kinds of martial arts, and can beat any zombie. Moreover, the more assistants there are, the more abilities the assistants have, and the more abilities he can choose. Therefore, this feature has endless possibilities. Chapter 269 Level 4 Equipment. In addition, this suit also solved another problem of his, which was the lack of defense. Now with this suit, he can directly fight zombies below level 4, and no longer have to hide behind, or deal with some small fish like before. If he encounters zombies above level 2, he has to rely on Wan Kyushu and others for protection. Moreover, the bullet that can resist some firearms made him ecstatic. At least in the future, when facing opponents with guns, his survival rate will be greatly improved. This also corresponds to what the system said, that level 4 is a watershed, and it begins to focus on individual abilities. However, this also means that zombies above level 4 will be more resistant to beatings, and the role of human thermal weapons will become smaller, and the situation will be more difficult. He thought for a moment and asked, System, abilities like Kyuuzulan's giant claws require the ability to transform into a crab, so what should I do? System, you'll know if you try it? He curled his lips. I'm asking you, because I don't want to waste it. It seems I have to rely on myself. However, he did not try to transform into a crab, but directly extracted Kyuuzulan's invisibility ability, and then he suddenly felt something inexplicable on his body. The next second, his body suddenly disappeared into thin air. Wan Kyushu on the side was startled. You are invisible? His voice sounded in Wan Kyushu's ears. Yes, isn't it amazing? Wan Kyushu nodded. How did you do it? His figure slowly appeared beside Wan Kyushu. This is the ability of my protective gear. Then, he introduced it to Wan Kyushu and said regretfully, it's a pity that you can only extract one ability, otherwise I would be the master of all abilities. Wan Kyushu asked, what about the crab transformation abilities? I thought you were going to try that first. He shook his head. The crab transformation abilities can be tried tomorrow. Those abilities are more suitable for special occasions, while invisibility is different. It is quite useful. Wan Kyushu thought about it and reminded, but if you only have invisibility but no concealment, there will still be a risk of exposure. He nodded. Well, there is indeed such a risk, but it is still very useful in most cases. Wan Kyushu responded, that's right. Then, he upgraded Wan Kyushu and their equipment. Hammer of the Earth. Increases the lethality to zombies by 80%. Weight is 80% less than before. A critical hit. There is a 60% chance of instantly killing an opponent of a lower level than yourself. Soul Breaking Knife. Increases the lethality to zombies by 80%. One hit soul severing. When chopping the opponent's head, there is a 50% chance of instantly killing an opponent of a lower level than yourself. Dark Skirt. Can block attacks from zombies of level 4 and below. Can block bullets from some guns. Rebound. Whenever attacked, there is a 60% chance of rebounding the opponent's attack. Dark Shoes. Increases movement speed by 80%. Shaping. With every kick, there is a 50% chance of a perfect hit. Death or Life Knife. Increases the lethality to zombies by 80%. Double. The blade can become 4 times longer. Martial Arts Clothes. Can block attacks from zombies of level 4 and below. Can block bullets from some guns. Use your body as a shield. You can form a layer of shield outside your body to resist the attacks of zombies of level 4+1 and below. It can only take effect once a day. The Road of Martial Arts. Every attack has a 60% chance of a perfect hit. Martial Arts Shoes. Increase movement speed by 80%. Shaping. Every kick has a 60% chance of a perfect hit. Dragon Slayer. Increase the lethality to zombies by 80%. Dragon Soul Killer. When attacking the opponent's head, there is a 50% chance of instantly killing an opponent with a lower level than yourself. The damage of each piece of equipment and the probability of some characteristics have been improved, but no new characteristics have been obtained. However, what surprised him was that the armor also had an introduction, that it could resist some gun bullets. In addition, with the physical strength of their bodies, after transforming into zombies, most guns should not work on them. Qiyu Zilan took the upgraded armor back to Zillion. He looked at Wang Qiyu. By the way, you are leveling up now and have a chance to evolve. What ability do you want to evolve? Wang Qiyu was immediately in a dilemma. I don't know. I don't think there is any ability I want. Forget about the defensive system. Since I got the armor, my treatment and head hardening have never been used. As for the offensive system, it seems unnecessary. After all, I already have a knife and a hammer. It's a pity that I can't grow wings. I really want to fly. He also had a headache. Use your brain and think carefully to see if there is any ability that suits you or that you want. After all, you are the one who usually uses your body, and you must be more clear about the combat requirements. I can only give you some suggestions at most. Wang Qiyu's eyes lit up. By the way, brain, upgrade my brain. He was stunned and slapped his forehead hard. With your IQ, you really need to upgrade your brain. Wang Qiyu stared at him, then pounced on him. Are you calling me stupid again? He was lying on the bed with his hands held down. You can remove the word right and the question mark at the end. Wang Qiyu wanted to say something, but Qiyu Zilan, who was standing at the door, couldn't stand it anymore and knocked on the door. Well, can you two close the door or change the time? Otherwise, it will be bad if Zillion sees it. Wang Qiyu blushed and sat up quickly. He also sat up and tidied up his messy clothes. Wang Qiyu was speechless. You tidied up the clothes? As if we were really doing something just now. He thought about it and put his hand down silently. Qiyu Zilan stood outside the door and didn't come in. How about I help you close the door? Wang Qiyu shook his head. No, he just called me stupid again. I just wanted to teach him a lesson. It's not what you think. Qiyu Zilan said oh, but with an expression that said I understand, and then asked, by the way, I came here to ask, are we going out in the afternoon? Or should we just take a day off today? The original plan was to take a rest because of a series of things such as the upgrade, but now everything is almost done, and it is estimated that the afternoon will be very free. He thought for a while, just take a break. There have been too many things going on recently. It's just right to take a break and discuss the follow-up plan. Qiyu Zilan nodded and was about to go back. At this time, Wang Qiyu said, Zilan, why don't you come in and give me some advice? I don't know what ability to upgrade now. Qiyu Zilan looked at the two of them and finally walked in. Do you have any needs in your daily life? Wang Qiyu repeated what he had just thought. Then Qiyu Zilan began to ponder. Suddenly, there was a bang sound next to him, and the wall also shook. Chapter 270 Little Spider. Zillion. Zillion's face suddenly changed, and she rushed out. He and Wang Qiushu looked at each other, and rushed out as well, only to find Zillion standing at the door of the next room. Wang Qiushu asked curiously, "What happened?" Zillion turned her head and said, "The spider has hatched." Then she walked in quickly. Wang Qiushu was startled. "So fast? Is Zillion okay?" He touched his chin. Zillion is wearing level 4 armor, so she must be okay. But the noise just now was so loud, I'm afraid the spider has been blown up. The two walked to the door of the room, and saw Zillion checking her sister for any wounds, while the spider had just slid down the wall. The spider looked the same as the white-fronted stilt spider yesterday, and it was also a female spider. However, although it was hit just now, it did not die, and there were not even any wounds on its body. After it stood still on the ground, it looked at Zillion and her sister with its red eyes, and then suddenly, as if it had sensed something, it actually looked at Wang Qiushu, and then rushed towards Wang Qiushu with its 8 legs. Wang Qiushu said, "HMM," and then swung the hammer of the earth. "With so many people here, you think I'm the easiest to bully, right? Let me give you a taste of the upgraded hammer of the earth." He grabbed Wang Qiushu and said, "Don't." At the same time, Zillion also shouted, "No." Zillion couldn't help but say, "You can't even take care of yourself, and you still have the mind to care about it." As a result, Wang Qiushu was unable to swing the hammer of the earth, after being pulled by him. The next second, the little spider pounced on Wang Qiushu. Although it had just come out of the egg, and was not big, about the same size as Zillion, it was not light in weight. So, with a bang, Wang Qiushu was thrown to the ground. She shouted, "You're crushing me to death. It's so heavy." Then, 2 red eyes appeared in front of her eyes, looking at her. Looking at the performance of the spider, he had a bold guess in his heart. Wang Qiushu pushed the spider away, then climbed up from the ground, and looked at it with a vigilant look. The spider stared at Wang Qiushu with red eyes, and there seemed to be a trace of grievance in its eyes. It didn't know why Wang Qiushu treated it like this. Wang Qiushu was stunned for a moment. "What's going on? Why do you make me feel as if I have done something unforgivable? This look makes me feel a little guilty." At this time, Zillion rushed over with her short legs and blocked the little spider. "You are not allowed to hurt it." The spider obviously didn't appreciate it, and rushed over directly, bumped into Zillion's body, and knocked her out. Zillion, who followed closely, quickly caught her sister. "Are you okay?" Zillion shook her head and replied, "It's okay, it doesn't hurt at all." Zillion picked up the Dragon Slayer spear. "It's better to kill this thing, don't let it live." The spider seemed to sense the murderous aura of Zillion, and actually took 2 steps back. After thinking about it, it walked towards Wang Qiushu again, and hid behind Wang Qiushu. Wang Qiushu and Zillion were both stunned. Zillion grabbed her sister's hand and said, "Sister, please don't do that. The little spider is so fun. Keep it to play with me." The spider seemed to understand what Zillion said. It poked its head out from behind Wang Qiushu, and looked at Zillion cautiously. Zillion giggled, "So cute." The spider shrank back again. Zillion had no choice but to look at him who had been watching the show. "Can you upgrade a dog leash or something to tie up this spider? If there are other props that contain it, it would be even better." He said in a frown, "This is a spider, not a dog. What's the use of a dog leash? Besides, you have seen what it looks like. There is no such a big dog leash, and where should it be tied to tie it up?" Zillion thought for a while. "That makes sense. What should I do? Zillion refuses to kill it, and I'm afraid it will hurt Zillion. It's really troublesome." He said directly, "Didn't Zillion do anything just now? By the way, how did the spider hit the wall at the beginning?" Zillion replied. Zillion said yes. The spider wanted to attack her as soon as it came out, so she directly elbowed it in the heart and knocked it away. He nodded. "That's it. This spider looks like an ordinary zombie at most. Zillion is wearing level 4 armor, so she will be fine. It's better to worry about whether the spider will be blown up by her. Besides, it's boring for Zillion to practice martial arts alone." Now there is a free sandbag, which will also help her practice martial arts. QI Zealand frowned. Are you sure it's okay? He waved his hand. It's okay. Level 4 armor can even block bullets, let alone this small attack. At most, it will cause internal injuries due to the impact. I will give her some healing medicine later. If you are injured, just take it directly. QI Zealand also kept shaking her sister's hand. It's okay, sister. I really didn't feel any pain just now. QI Zealand had to say, then observe for a while. If it hurts you, I can only kill it. QI Zealand nodded repeatedly, and then rushed towards the spider again. The spider didn't know what it was thinking. Maybe it thought Zillion wanted to attack it, so it stood up its upper body, with two fangs extended, looking like a fierce and aggressive person. When QI Zillion was about to approach, she directly elbowed the spider in the head. With a bang, the spider hit the wall, and then slid down again. QI Zillion walked forward. If you want to attack me again, I will have to hit you. The spider saw QI Zillion coming, and quickly hid behind Wang Qiushu again. QI Zillion stood there aggrieved. Why doesn't it play with me? He said. See, the spider can't hurt Zillion. QI Zillion was relieved when she saw this. However, she remembered the yellow hairs last night. What if it shoots those yellow hairs? Will it pierce the armor? He thought about it and said, there is a way. Then, they found a room, and watched QI Zillion play with the spider. Of course, it was mainly Zillion who chased the spider, because the spider was so scared when it saw Zillion. Finally, the spider seemed to be unable to bear it anymore, curled up, and kicked the hairs directly in the next second, and the yellow hairs flew all over the room. However, they were all wearing level 4 armor, so nothing happened, and the yellow-haired ones couldn't hurt them. Afterwards, they used their fists to teach the spider a lesson. After that, the spider shrank into the corner and dared not move. He nodded. The fist is the hard truth. I believe it will learn from the lesson in the future. Besides, it doesn't have much hair on its body now, so there is no need to worry about it kicking again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 The Spider's Abilities. It must be said that this little spider is quite resistant to beatings. It was still fine after being beaten by them, but its eyes looked more aggrieved. QI Zillion felt distressed and wanted to hug it. As a result, the little spider ran behind Wang Qiushu again. QI Zillion stood there, at a loss for a moment. QI Zillion looked at him. What should I do now? He shook his head. Feelings are something that need to be cultivated slowly. After a long time, it will be fine. QI Zillion thought for a while. This is the only way. Then, they walked back, and the little spider followed Wang Qiushu step by step. Wang Qiushu couldn't help but feel strange. Why has it been pestering me since just now? I thought it wanted to attack me at first, but now it doesn't seem like it. If it's revenge, it doesn't make sense, because we all took action. Is there something on me that attracts it? She had been thinking about this question just now, but she couldn't figure it out. He smiled and said, yes, there is something on you that attracts it. Wang Qiushu asked curiously, what is it? QI Zillion also looked over. QI Zillion asked, can you take it out? Can you give it to me? I want to play with the little spider. He shook his head. I can't take it out. In fact, I had some guesses from the beginning, but now I can basically confirm it. That is, Qiushu has inherited the ability of the white-fronted stilt spider, so it may have its breath on its body, and was mistaken for its mother by this little spider. Congratulations, you are a mother. Wang Qiushu was stunned for a moment. No way, could it be that there is the breath of the white-fronted stilt spider on my body, or on the hammer of the earth, so it was mistaken? Otherwise, I will go back and wash it again later. He nodded. This is possible, but the possibility is not high. If that is the case, it is more likely to fight you to death, rather than follow you. However, you will know when you go back and transform later. It just happened to inherit the ability. QI Zillion was disappointed. Then I have no chance. I thought it would regard the first person it saw as its mother. Qiuzilin didn't know what to say to comfort her sister. Wang Qiushu didn't say anything else and looked at the little spider from time to time, wondering what he was thinking. Afterwards, the four of them went straight back to Wang Qiushu's room. The little spider followed in and jumped onto Wang Qiushu's bed very familiarly. Wang Qiushu frowned and drove it off the bed. It lay on the ground, looking at Wang Qiushu with a wronged look. He took out a transformation needle and handed it over. The next second, Wang Qiushu transformed directly. The little spider seemed to have discovered something and excitedly pounced on Wang Qiushu. Wang Qiushu pushed the little spider away with difficulty, but couldn't stop its enthusiasm. It pounced on her again and again, and finally she gave up. Qiuzilin watched the interaction between the man and the spider with envy. When Wang Qiushu transformed, he received a message from the system. Ding, assist Wang Qiushu to kill a level 4 zombie by leaps and bounds. You can extract one of the abilities from the zombie, namely, spider transformation, hair perception, kicking hair, extreme speed, molting and rebirth, laying eggs, and food transformation. Hair perception is to sense the vibration of airflow through the hair on the body to determine the enemy and the location of the attack. This ability is because spiders have poor eyesight and generally rely on hair to sense vibrations, which is similar to cockroaches. Needless to say, kicking hair is to launch the hair on the body and increase the damage according to the level. Just like the levels of two white-fronted stilt spiders of different levels are very different, and the damage is also very different. Extreme speed is the ability of white-fronted stilt spiders to run fast, and it is precisely because of this that they can successfully capture cockroaches. After becoming a zombie, this speed is naturally faster, and I believe it is faster than speed-type zombies. Shedding and rebirth is similar to crabs. They all shed their shells to obtain new bodies, and they can grow back, even if they are injured. Laying eggs is to accumulate a lot of energy and then reproduce. However, looking at the small spider of ordinary level, he was also very curious about where the energy went. Food conversion is to insert the fangs into the enemy's body, which can instantly convert the enemy's body into absorbable liquid and directly absorb it. This is also the reason why the white-fronted stilt spider was so efficient last night. He told Wang Qiushu about these abilities, and then said, all these abilities require spider transformation, but I don't know what it will look like. Wang Qiushu made a bitter face, but I already have a pair of long legs. I don't want so many long legs, and I don't want to crawl. He nodded. It's up to you. If you really don't want it, then don't have it. Anyway, there will always be opportunities to gain other abilities in the future. Wang Qiushu said again, but these abilities sound pretty good, and I want them so much. It's so annoying. Can't we have the best of both worlds? He reminded, then you can think about it slowly, but I don't know if there is a time limit. Maybe you will be forced to choose an ability when your transformation is over. You can decide for yourself. Wang Qiushu was even more entangled. This is going to force me to death. Can't you put it aside and let me think about it for a few days? He replied, I was just guessing just now. After all, I haven't tried it before. Wang Qiushu looked at the little spider, then at him. Didn't you just say that the more abilities are better? The more abilities you have, the more choices you have. Then I'll go all out, isn't it just turning into a spider? Come on. He didn't expect Wang Qiushu to make a decision so quickly. Have you thought it through? Do you want to think about it again? Wang Qiushu shook his head. Come on, before I regret it. He nodded. Then what abilities do you want? In fact, I think these abilities are pretty good. How about all of them? Wang Qiushu stared at him. If you kick hair, what if you turn me bald? And laying eggs, do you want me to give birth to a spider for you in the future? Not to mention food conversion. I don't eat zombies. What's the point of having it? He smiled. If you are willing to give birth to me, it's okay to give birth to a spider. Wang Qiushu realized that he had made a slip of the tongue, and his face flushed immediately. The two sisters Qiuzilin were eating dog food on the side, and it was difficult to interrupt them. Only the little spider was still relentless, and pounced on Wang Qiushu. He cleared his throat and continued, forget about those two, but I think we can't miss kicking hair. After all, it's a rare long-range attack method that can achieve unexpected results. You saw the specific damage yesterday. As for becoming bald, the worst that can happen is that I can just shed my shell and be reborn. Chapter 272 Experimental Capabilities. In the end, Wan Qiushu adopted his suggestion and inherited everything except egg-laying and food transformation. The moment she inherited the ability, the little spider seemed to have a better impression of her and kept jumping on her. He looked at Wan Qiushu, try to see what it's like to transform into a spider first. Wan Qiushu was also a little nervous. She felt uncomfortable when she thought that she would become a spider with 8 long legs and covered with hair. However, since she had already inherited it, it was useless to think too much. She took a deep breath and then began to transform into a spider. The 3 people and the spider looked at Wan Qiushu together. Wan Qiushu didn't get a response for a long time, so she slowly opened her eyes. Do I look ugly now? She was afraid of being scared by the appearance of herself turning into a spider, so she closed her eyes and didn't dare to look. The 3 people and the spider shook their heads together. Wan Qiushu blinked. Then I feel relieved. Wait, didn't I turn into a spider? How come I'm still on the same level as you? The 3 people and the spider nodded together. Wan Qiushu was a little confused. So what's going on now? He brought a mirror. Look for yourself. Wan Qiushu took the mirror and saw that her face was the same as before, except that there was a white horizontal band on her forehead, which looked very obvious. She was relieved immediately. Fortunately, at least my face hasn't changed. Wait, my hands haven't changed either? She then realized that she had just received it with her hands, and her hands hadn't changed much either. The 3 people and the spider nodded again. She stood up directly, looked around her body, and then laughed. I was scared to death. It turns out that there is just a white band on my face. I didn't turn into a spider, and I didn't grow 8 legs. If I had known this, I wouldn't have had to worry about it for so long. He sighed. I didn't expect it. I was ready to see a big spider with 8 legs. By the way, I was worried for a moment that you would become bigger and then tear the room apart. But it's good now. If no one looks carefully, no one will know that you have turned into a spider, and no one will be on guard against your ability to transform into a spider. Wan Qiushu nodded and kicked away the little spider that pounced on him again. He then said, by the way, how about trying your ability? Wan Qiushu moved his body and then suddenly disappeared in front of everyone and reappeared the next second, holding Qiushu's clothes in his hand. How fast is this? The 3 were stunned, and Qiushu said, if we meet that speed type zombie again, we don't have to worry about her running away. Wan Qiushu said proudly, that's good. I finally deserve my efforts. At this time, he suddenly began to become invisible and finally disappeared into the air. Qiushu looked at the direction he disappeared and was stunned. The little spider seemed to have sensed something and kept looking in one direction and shaking its body. After all, its body and head are integrated, and it can only change direction in this way. Wan Qiushu has been maintaining the original posture and suddenly turned around and grabbed the air with one hand. However, judging from the strength of her hand, it seems that she really grabbed something. Then, his wrist slowly appeared in Wan Qiushu's hand, and then the whole person was revealed. He smiled and said, this hair perception is pretty good. It can sense it even when I'm invisible. I just don't know what it will be like when Zilan is invisible and cloaked. Qiushu thought for a while and said, it should be able to sense it, just like we almost got discovered yesterday. Wan Qiushu also nodded and said, even if it can't be sensed at a distance, it will definitely be noticed when the distance is close. Just now it was as if all the hair on my body was feeling the vibration of the air and forming an image of you in my mind, so I could grab your hand directly. He responded, this ability is really powerful. If used well, you can detect the other person's existence even with your eyes closed. By the way, do you want to try the hair kicking technique? Maybe, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the hair is fired out, but you can control it yourself. Qiushu looked at the bald little spider, then at Wan Qiushu. Wan Qiushu hesitated for a moment, then I'll try it. I don't know if it hurts to shed my shell and be reborn. I don't want to become a bald man. He thought for a while. Wait, you are a level 4 zombie, so your power must be extraordinary. How about we change rooms? You experiment inside, and we watch outside, so as not to be accidentally injured by you later. Then, they returned to the room, where they had just beaten the little spider. The walls of the room were still covered with hair shot by the little spider, but they were just hanging on the wall. Whether in terms of hardness or strength, it was obviously not as good as the white-fronted stilt spider yesterday. It was unknown what effect Wang Qiushu would have when he used it. To be on the safe side, after Wang Qiushu went in, they also closed the door and hid by the door so as not to be penetrated later. The little spider wanted to stay inside, but was dragged out by Qiu Zillion. Everyone waited for a while, but suddenly heard a scream of "Ah!" from inside. He quickly pushed the door open and rushed in. "What's wrong?" The two people and the spider behind him also rushed in. Wang Qiushu looked at him with an aggrieved look on his face. "I got pricked in my hand." He looked for a long time, and finally found a thin black hair in Wang Qiushu's hand. He couldn't help asking, "How did you do it?" Wang Qiushu's tears were about to come out. "Didn't I want to try kicking the hair just now? Then I found that the hair on my body was under my control, and I didn't want to become a bald man, so I thought about trying it with the hair on my hand. As a result, the hair on my hand bounced back as soon as it shot out and pierced into my flesh, which hurt me to death." He almost laughed out loud. "No wonder I looked for a long time before I found the difference. By the way, are you sure you shot it out, not in reverse?" Wang Qiushu affirmed, "I'm sure." He thought about it. "That's strange. It shouldn't be like this. It was clearly shot out. How could it bounce back?" "Forget it. I want to help you get the hair out. It looks very painful." Wang Qiushu asked, "How do you want to get it out?" He directly showed the death knife in his hand. "If it's an ordinary thorn stuck in the flesh, we usually use a sewing needle to prick the flesh and then pick out the thorn. However, those thorns are basically on the epidermis, so this method can be used. Your hand hair has directly sunk into the flesh. Without this method to cut it open, there is no way to get it out." Chapter 273 Armor Abound. Wang Qiushu's eyes widened. "Wait, you mean, use your knife to cut it open? Wouldn't that be very painful?" He grabbed Wang Qiushu's hand. "Don't be afraid, my knife is very sharp and fast. Just cut it and then take out the hand hair. Didn't you say before that there was no chance to use it for treatment? Won't it come in handy now?" Wang Qiushu quickly pulled his hand back. "No, I have a way." He was stunned for a moment. "You have a way? Are you sure?" Wang Qiushu nodded. "I didn't have time to say it just now. After this hand hair pierced into my flesh, I felt that I could control it again. So, as long as I launch it out again, no surgery is needed." He didn't quite believe it. "Really? Don't force yourself. This thing is not a joke. If you don't get it out, it will be very troublesome in the future." Wang Qiushu affirmed. "Really? If you don't believe me, just watch." He nodded. "I'll watch here and see what's going on." The Qiu sisters and Spider-Man also nodded. They were also very curious. Wang Qiushu said aggrievedly, "Can't you wait for me? Do you know how painful it is to be stabbed like this? What happened just now might be an accident." He waved his hand. "Hurry up, or I'll use a knife to help you." Wang Qiushu immediately said seriously, "No need, just watch." After saying that, she clenched her fist and then suddenly spread it open. At the moment of spreading it open, she exerted force on her hand, and the hand hair that had just pierced deeply into the flesh also shot out instantly. However, the hand hair had just been launched for a distance and almost just left the body, as if it had encountered some obstacles, and it was directly bounced back and pierced into Wang Qiushu's hand again. Moreover, this time it pierced deeper. Wang Qiushu screamed again in pain. "Ah!" The three of them were stunned for a moment and suddenly laughed out loud. Even the little spider laughed, and his body kept shaking up and down, obviously very happy. Wang Qiushu was so angry when he saw them like this that he punched him. "You're still laughing? It hurts so much." Fortunately, he already had level 4 armor, otherwise it would be uncomfortable to be hit by Wang Qiushu in zombie form. He quickly said seriously, "It's not that I want to laugh, it's really too funny. If I hadn't seen it just now, I wouldn't have believed that such a thing really happened. Ha 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 ha." After that, he couldn't help laughing again. The two sisters Qiuzilin saw that Wang Qiushu was angry, so they also tried to hold back their laughter. As a result, when they saw him laugh, they couldn't help laughing too. Wang Qiushu was so angry that he kicked the little spider. "You're a spider, do you understand? They laugh, and you laugh too." The little spider felt wronged after being kicked, but it looked around, and it seemed that it was the weakest here, so it had to run to the corner. Although Qiuzilin was also weak, it couldn't beat her. At this time, he finally controlled himself and pulled Wang Qiushu over. "Don't be angry, we really didn't mean it." The two sisters Qiuzilin nodded repeatedly, and the little spider in the corner also poked its head out. Wang Qiushu stretched out her hand. "Come on, help me with the operation. At worst, I won't need this ability in the future." He shook his head. "No, I have a guess about what you did just now. I'll know if I try it now." Wang Qiushu asked directly. "What guess?" He replied, "Take off your clothes now." "No, change your clothes, and then try kicking the hair again." Wang Qiushu frowned. What does this have to do with clothes? She really didn't want to be stabbed again, and she might even be laughed at by them. He replied, "Either you change your clothes and try again, or I can only operate on you. You choose one." Wang Qiushu thought about it and sighed. "Then I'd better change my clothes. If it doesn't work, you're dead." He nodded. "If it doesn't work, I'll let you do whatever you want." After a while, Wang Qiushu changed into a set of home clothes and came back. He said, "Come on, try again." Wang Qiushu looked at him nervously and then warned, "Don't laugh this time." He nodded seriously and looked at the Qiuzilin sisters. The two of them also looked serious and promised, "We will never laugh." Wang Qiushu clenched her fists again. In fact, she couldn't stand it herself. Only when she really tried it, she could truly understand what it meant to be a thorn in the eye and a thorn in the flesh. It was really uncomfortable. The next second, the hand hair shot out again. However, this time the hand hair did not bounce back, but shot into the wall with a swish. Because the hand hair was too short, only a small hole was left on the wall, and there was no part exposed outside. The two sisters Qiuzilin couldn't help but sigh. How amazing. The little spider silently shrank back into the corner, not to be provoked. Wang Qiushu carefully touched the part that was pierced with her hand, and said in surprise, "It's really okay, it doesn't hurt at all." He smiled. "Of course it doesn't hurt after the thorn is pulled out. Otherwise, it will hurt if you touch it accidentally, and it's very uncomfortable." Wang Qiushu asked curiously, "How did you do it? Is it related to my clothes?" He nodded. "It's like this. I didn't notice it when I first heard you say it. It wasn't until the second time that I found that it was indeed bounced back by something. Then, I thought about the problem of protective gear. When you put on the dark dress, a kind of protection will be formed on your body to resist external damage. And when the hair leaves the body, it no longer belongs to you, and naturally it may be regarded as a kind of damage." Wang Qiushu suddenly realized, so, the hand hair just shot out a little, hit the protection, and then bounced back, and pierced into my flesh. After that, she patted him again. "Since you guessed it early, why are you still laughing?" He laughed again. "But, it's really funny. It's like a person holding a flying knife and saying, 'My flying knife is very powerful, look at my flying knife,' and then stabbed himself for the first time. Then he didn't believe it, and threw it again, and stabbed himself again. No, I can't help it again." The two sisters Qiuzilin also laughed. Wang Qiushu looked at them laughing, and was also amused. After a while, they calmed down, and Wang Qiushu asked, "What should we do now? If this is the case, then my kicking hair will be useless. Not only can it not hurt the opponent, but it will hurt myself first." He thought about it. "Well, let's see if we can upgrade the equipment and add related functions." Wang Qiushu nodded. Chapter 274 What's New? Now, having tested kicking hair's ability and knowing the cause, there was naturally no need to stay here, so they went back and saw if there was any other solution. As they walked, he suddenly laughed. "It's a good thing you didn't use your hair to experiment just now. Otherwise, even if you didn't die, your skull would probably be full of holes." Wang Qiushu snorted. "I can't bear to use my beautiful hair like this. I'll become a bald man. Wouldn't it be so ugly? He continued, but if you don't use your hair, your hand hair is too short, and the lethality is really not enough. Not to mention anything else, you can't even nail the enemy to the wall like a cockroach. Unless you can condense all the hair together and shoot it at the enemy's vital points, then the lethality can be guaranteed. Wang Qiuyushu frowned. This is too troublesome. By the way, can't you get our ability? This hair kicking skill is up to you. When you encounter the enemy in the future, just shoot out your hair. He touched his head. It doesn't matter to me. It's summer now, and it's cooler without hair. But my hair isn't long enough. Wang Qiuyushu looked at his hair and smiled. It's okay, as long as it works. Besides, your hair is so thick, it can probably be used for a long time. He suddenly felt his scalp tingling, touched his head, and sighed. Cherish the last time we spent together. You may not be here someday. Wang Qiuyushu and the other two laughed. The little spider following behind also laughed, but it tried to hide itself, and didn't dare to make too much noise, lest it be dealt with again. After returning, he took the skirt of darkness and asked, "System, can this equipment be upgraded and have a function added? Otherwise, I will be knocked down before I kill the enemy." The system responded coldly, "Sure, add this special function, charge 1000. As soon as he saw the tone of the system, he knew there was no chance to bargain, and waved his hand. Take it, take it. By the way, don't forget to add it to my equipment." He didn't want to follow in Wang Qiuyushu's footsteps and stab himself. His body was not as durable as Wang Qiuyushu's zombie form, and he couldn't withstand such damage. System, ding, 2000 experience points deducted. New penetration function added. When the host and the assistant use the hair kicking ability, the hair will penetrate through the protective gear and will not cause any flaws in the protection. He nodded. This was more like it. He was worried that, if it was another way, there would be a gap, resulting in a part of the body being unprotected. But this function actually took this into account perfectly and solved the problem. Then, he handed the dark skirt to Wang Qiuyushu, explained its function, and then said, "You can try it now." Wang Qiuyushu shook his head with lingering fear. "Forget it. I don't plan to use this unless it's necessary in the future. Besides, I've been stabbed twice, so I'd better let you try it first." He nodded. "Okay, I'll try it sometime, but it should be fine." Qiuyushu said, "If there's nothing else, we'll go back first." Wang Qiuyushu said quickly, "Wait a minute, you haven't helped me figure out what ability to upgrade." Qiuyushu thought for a while. "How about you see if these new abilities you just got can be further evolved? Just like I evolved invisibility before." Wang Qiuyushu frowned. "I can't think of it. It's giving me a headache." He reminded from the side, "How about accelerated hair growth or instant recovery? In this way, it's like you have countless bullets, and you don't have to worry about becoming bald." Qiuyushu smiled. "That's a good idea." Wang Qiuyushu pushed him. "Is there any need for this ability? I don't want this ability." He looked up at the ceiling. "Then I can't think of it. How about evolving your brain?" Wang Qiuyushu slapped his forehead. "Yes, I remember. I just wanted you to help me evolve my brain." He was stunned, and the Qiuyushu sisters and Spider-Man were also stunned. Wang Qiuyushu said dissatisfiedly, "What are the expressions on your faces? What do you mean?" He replied, "This is the first time we have met someone as honest as you, but I can't guarantee whether you can do this." Wang Qiuyushu snorted coldly, "I won't bother with you. What I mean is to evolve my brain, not evolve my IQ. Do you understand?" He thought for a while. "What do you want your brain to become? Make it bigger? Or can it be taken out and placed in a safe place? In this way, you don't have to worry about danger." Wang Qiuyushu lay on the bed, turning into a salted fish that had lost its dreams. He smiled and said, "It's just a joke. Come on, tell me your ideas and I'll give you some advice." Wang Qiuyushu then sat up. "Do you remember the level 2 zombie we met who could control other zombies?" He nodded. "I remember. Speaking of which, his ability is really special. Although other high-level zombies can drive low-level zombies, they cannot completely control them. I don't know if it's because Wan Qiushu and the others are human beings, so even after transforming into zombies, they can only suppress them, but can't drive them away like the previous level 3 zombies. Wan Qiushu continued, the zombies we encounter later rarely have this ability, not to mention those high level zombies. So, if I evolve the ability to control other zombies, wouldn't it be much more convenient? For example, when killing cockroaches, I can control them to bring in pesticides and bombs, and directly carry out decapitation operations. Qiuzilan on the side became interested. This is feasible. If we can control zombies on a large scale, we can even let them jump into the juicer by themselves. With your current level 4, you can directly control zombies below level 3, and we don't even have to do it. After all, although the zombie virus can attract zombies, it is their business whether to crawl into the juicer or not. Especially after the zombies become higher in level, it becomes much more difficult to get them to crawl in obediently. The previous level 2 zombies, including some smarter ones, required the two of them to take action. What's more, the opponents in the future are those level 3 zombies. If they refuse to go in, they still have to take action, which will be very troublesome. He nodded. This is a good ability, so let's upgrade this one. Although I don't know if it will work. Wan Qiushu breathed a sigh of relief. Let's just upgrade this one. I can't think of anything else. Chapter 275 The Arrival of Consciousness. After getting Wan Qiushu's answer, he said directly, System, evolve the ability to control zombies. After all, he didn't know how the previous zombie did it. What if he didn't use his brain to control other zombies? Then wouldn't he have evolved in the wrong direction when he said he was evolving his brain? System, ding, the ability to control zombies failed to evolve. He was stunned for a moment, almost thinking that he had heard it wrong, and then he looked again and was sure. Wan Qiushu, who was standing by, saw his face suddenly change, and asked hurriedly, what's wrong? He turned his head to look at Wan Qiushu. Evolution failed. Wan Qiushu and Qiuzilan said in surprise at the same time. They had never heard of it, and had never thought that there would be such a possibility. Although Qiuzilan didn't quite understand what was going on, she also pretended to be surprised. Spider-Man hesitated for a while, not knowing how to make a surprised expression, and finally showed his fangs. He spread his hands and said, don't ask me, I don't know what's going on. I even don't know whether the opportunity for evolution this time is reserved or not. At this time, the system said again, if the evolution fails, the mutated consciousness will be acquired. It can divide its own consciousness into two, one part of which can enter the body of other zombies and control the other party. When the zombie that is descended dies, the consciousness is automatically recovered and will not be damaged. In addition, it can also retract consciousness on its own. Wan Qiushu and the others wanted to ask more questions, but when he saw the message, he stopped them and asked, System, what's going on? System, evolution is probabilistic. When the direction of evolution is unclear or the ability to evolve far exceeds one's own ability, it may fail. After failure, one will gain the next level of ability, or mutated ability. He nodded, looked at Wan Qiushu, and repeated the system's words. Then he said, this ability is a mutant ability. Although it cannot control many zombies, it is much better than control. After all, the previous control of the zombies could only make the zombies attack the enemy, and they could not even know what happened. Now this is equivalent to having an extra clone, which means something different. Wan Qiushu said in surprise, since it is a mutant ability, it must be very strong. Qiuzilan also said, yes, and it can continue to evolve in this direction in the future. If the consciousness can be divided into many parts, and then the consciousness descends, it will be much more powerful than ordinary control. Wan Qiushu laughed, wow, I feel very powerful just thinking about it. He also nodded, well, the future is promising. This ability. Wan Qiushu suddenly said, however, now we need to find a zombie to test the specific effect. After speaking, everyone looked at the little spider at the same time. The little spider was stunned for a moment, and was frightened by their gaze. He showed his fangs directly, and his two front legs kept swinging, as if he dared to come over and fight with you. However, it seemed to find that its deterrence was ineffective, and it quickly ran out of the door and disappeared in a short while. Wan Qiushu wanted to follow and catch the little spider. He grabbed Wan Qiushu and said, "Forget it. We don't know if this ability has any side effects on the zombies themselves. What if after your consciousness descends, its own consciousness is wiped out, and there will only be a body without consciousness? After all, it is rare to find zombies with autonomous consciousness at this ordinary level, or zombies with a certain IQ. You know, those ordinary zombies on the street outside are wandering unconsciously. As the level increases, they will gradually develop autonomous consciousness. However, this has nothing to do with most ordinary zombies. They have become food for other high-level zombies before they even develop autonomous consciousness." When Qiushu heard this, she quickly stopped at the door and said, "Don't hurt the little spider." At the same time, the little spider carefully poked its head out of the door, took a look, and then shrank back. Seeing this, Wan Qiushu waved his hand. "Forget it, we'll go out later." "No, we won't go out later." "Then let's go tomorrow and try with zombies tomorrow." He nodded. "Try different levels by the way, especially those high-level zombies. Although it's not explained, I suspect that the higher the level, the harder it is for consciousness to descend." Qiushu continued, "That makes sense. It's better to test these out earlier, otherwise you'll be at a loss when you need them." Qiushu was relieved to see that they no longer paid attention to the little spider and no longer blocked the door. He looked at the time. It's almost noon. It's time to make lunch. It just so happens that the work is done. Qiushu said, "Then I'll help you." Wan Qiushu looked at it. "I can't cook. I can only help wash the dishes." Qiushu looked at it. "What about me?" Wan Qiushu pointed at the little spider that was peeking out. "You go play with it. If you don't want to play, you can beat it up." Qiushu laughed and walked out. When she heard it, at noon, they were eating. The little spider lay on the ground weakly. Although it ran fast, so it was not hit by Qiushu. Running also consumes physical energy. Wan Qiushu looked at the little spider. "Will it starve to death?" He took a bite of rice. "Don't worry, it won't starve to death. If it doesn't eat, if it starved to death, the zombies on the street would have starved to death long ago, or they would have killed each other. How could they survive until now?" Wan Qiushu nodded. "That's right. By the way, what do you think it wants to eat? Zombies or people?" As soon as these words came out, everyone stopped moving. The little spider felt some unfriendly eyes again and ran out quickly. He picked up the bowl again. At least now, it shouldn't eat people. And its mother eats zombies. It should eat zombies too. Let's take it out together tomorrow and let it find food by itself. When Qiushu heard this, she looked at her sister pitifully. Qiushu ate a mouthful of rice silently, then said, "There shouldn't be any danger tomorrow, so I'll take you with me." Qiushu laughed happily and ate more actively. Wan Qiushu asked at this time, "What do you think will happen if we give it that piece of zombie virus?" He shook his head. "That piece of zombie virus is our next energy source. We can't give it to it. Moreover, it is squeezed out of many zombies, and the virus content is too high. If it eats it, either its body can't hold it and explodes directly. If it holds it, it will probably jump to a higher level, and we don't know how many levels it will jump to. However, once its level increases rapidly and exceeds ours, it is very likely to cause a backlash." Wan Qiushu nodded. "Then let it starve." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.